Chapter 1344. Nangong Sheng and the other two were getting closer to the green-robed man. The three of them glared at the green-robed man intently, exuding a powerful might as though they wanted to see through him. However, the green-robed man's expression did not change despite being stared at by the three Jining Jinjuan. He did not seem embarrassed at all and was extremely calm. "Be careful, there's something strange about this person." Nangong Sheng sent a voice transmission secretly. The two old servants had lived for hundreds of years and were cautious. "I'm Nangong Sheng. May I know how to address you, fellow Taoist?" Nangong Sheng announced the name of the Nangong family right away. In the southern region, the names of the three aristocratic families were more useful than any other Dao titles. Nangong Sheng could not figure out the background of the green-robed man and did not act rashly either, probing instead. "Who I am is not important." The green-robed man shook his head. "What are you doing here?" one of the old servants asked in a deep voice. The green-robed man smiled gently. "I'm waiting for you guys." "Waiting for us?" The old servant frowned. The green-robed man was none other than Su Zimo, who came from Baiming Town. Su Zimo raised his head slightly and looked at the skies. Retracting his smile, he said indifferently, "It's getting late. I'll send you guys on your way." The moment he said that, Nangong Sheng and the other two felt a chilling intent envelop them. The three of them merely felt their vision blur as a figure swayed and a tragic aura surged towards them. It was too fast. Qinglian's true body did not use her full strength and merely burst forth with her body. Nangong Sheng and the other two could not react in time. Among them, the two old servants reacted even slower. Nangong Sheng retreated immediately, but the two old servants were half a step slower. Su Zimo arrived before one of the old servants and slapped the old servant's head with a flip of his palm, shattering the latter's skull instantly and destroying his essence spirit. The old servant didn't even make a sound before his corpse fell from the sky. The other old servant was enraged and slapped his storage bag to summon his flying sword. However, Su Zimo had already arrived before him. After killing one person, Su Zimo turned around and rushed towards another. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water. Just now, the sickly and thin scholar had turned into a murderous figure in the blink of an eye. Su Zimo didn't make any unnecessary movements. He stretched out his finger and lightly tapped the old servant's forehead. This old servant, seeing Su Zimo's finger reach over, couldn't dodge at all. A ruthless glint flashed in his eyes. Since he was going to die anyway, he might as well trade a life for a life. The old servant didn't care about Su Zimo's finger. Instead, he activated his divine sense and summoned his flying sword. Then, he stabbed it towards Su Zimo's forehead. Su Zimo's finger arrived first and landed on the old servant's forehead. Instantly, a bloody hole appeared on the old servant's forehead and blood gushed out. His essence spirit was destroyed on the spot and he died. At the same time, the old servant's flying sword had already pierced Su Zimo's forehead. However, Su Zimo did not even blink and allowed the old servant's flying sword to pierce him. Clang! When the flying sword struck Su Zimo's face, there was a crisp sound, as though metal had clashed. The flying sword fell. Nangong Sheng's eyelids twitched. That flying sword was a middle-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon and was extremely sharp. But now, it didn't even leave a single mark on the green-robed cultivator's skin, let alone injure him. What sort of body is that? How is that possible? Nangong Sheng's mind was in a mess as countless questions surged through his mind. His cultivation base, physical strength, combat strength, and qi and blood were much stronger than the two old slaves. Even so, he did not dare to fight against the green-robed cultivator at that moment. Without turning back, Nangong Sheng turned and fled. Boom! All of a sudden, a deafening sound echoed from behind him. The entire ground trembled. Instinctively, Nangong Sheng turned back and his expression changed. The green-robed cultivator stomped on the ground with a single foot and a gigantic pit appeared on the ground. He soared into the air at an extremely fast speed and caught up to Nangong Sheng in the blink of an eye. "Go!" Nangong Sheng did not have time to think as his glabella shone and a black shadow burst forth, charging towards Su Zimo viciously. Biting the tip of his tongue gently, Nangong Sheng spat out a mouthful of essence blood onto the black shadow. The moment he spat out the essence blood, his expression turned sluggish. He could no longer care about anything else. After being tainted by Nangong Sheng's essence blood, the black shadow expanded with the wind and instantly turned into a gigantic tripod that was half the height of a person. There were 4 dermic patterns etched on the tripod. It was a supreme-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon. Among the 3 aristocratic families, the Nangong family placed more emphasis on weapon refinement and elixir refinement. Most of the weapons used by aristocratic families were tripods and furnaces as well. When the gigantic tripod charged over, Su Zimo's expression was unchanged as he reached out and pressed against it. Bang! The gigantic tripod collided with Su Zimo's palm. Su Zimo's figure did not budge at all. Although the gigantic tripod was a supreme-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon, the power it released was negligible against Su Zimo. Su Zimo reached out with his other palm and hugged the gigantic tripod with both hands right in front of him, exerting strength with both arms. The gigantic tripod was crushed by Su Zimo's hands at a speed visible to the naked eye. Thereafter, Su Zimo's palms flew and rubbed it up, down, left and right a few times. Just now, it was still a gigantic tripod that was half the height of a person. In the blink of an eye, it was crushed into a gigantic metal ball by Su Zimo. That gigantic tripod was a supreme-grade perfected Lord Dermic weapon. However, Qinglian's true body was a grade 6 creation Qinglian that was refined with many divine weapons and was comparable to a connate Dao Lord Dermic weapon. There was a difference of 2 major cultivation realms between the two. Nangong Sheng's face turned pale and his scalp tingled. His legs went limp and he wanted to escape, but he could not move no matter what. Su Zimo grinned at him and tossed the gigantic metal ball out. Whoosh! The wind howled. A black shadow descended. Bang! Nangong Sheng could not react at all and was struck heavily in the chest by the gigantic metal ball. Instantly, his tendons and bones shattered and his organs were smashed into pieces. His body was already devoid of life. Shoo! A streak of light escaped from Nangong Sheng's head. His essence spirit had left his body. Normally speaking, the essence spirit of a nascent soul was extremely fragile. Once it left the body, it would be difficult for it to survive even if there was no danger. However, at that moment, Nangong Sheng no longer had a way out. The moment his essence spirit left, he discovered a shadow looming over. His essence spirit had already fallen into Su Zimo's palm. The green-robed man with yellowish cheeks happened to be looking at him calmly. The corners of his lips curled into a fake smile and his expression was filled with mockery. You, who are you? Nangong Sheng's essence spirit roared with a trembling voice. My name is Su Zimo. Su Zimo smiled gently. Nangong Sheng was stunned. That was an extremely unfamiliar name that he had never heard of before. Thereafter, the green-robed man continued, Dao title, Araki Takashi. Nangong Sheng's eyes widened gradually as endless shock filled every single inch of his essence spirit. Immediately after, cracks appeared on Nangong Sheng's essence spirit and its light dimmed. His life force drained and he was destroyed instantly. Jining Zhenjuan's essence spirit was extremely weak to begin with. When he heard the words Araki Takashi, Nangong Sheng was scared to death. Chapter 1345. Su Zimo was stunned as well when he looked at Nangong Sheng, who was scared to death. Is my Dao title already that scary? Su Zimo laughed self-deprecatingly. After the Battle of Heaven and Earth Valley, the words Dao Lord Araki Takashi had almost become a taboo. The cultivators of Tianhuang mainland were shocked at the mention of it. That battle was way too tragic. Although Dao Lord Araki Takashi was eventually exiled by a half-martial ancestor, there were way too many conjoint body mighty figures that died in Heaven and Earth Valley. Apart from the catastrophe of the North region 10,000 years ago, there was no other battle that could compare to this one. If not for the presence of the experts of the primordial races and the descent of the half-martial ancestors, the experts of the super sects would have been suppressed by Araki Takashi. Although the 3 aristocratic families were not involved, The cultivation world of the South region was still shocked when the news spread. Nangong Sheng was considered a figure in the vicinity of Baiming town. However, he was merely Jinying Jinjuan. He was already shocked by Su Zimo's methods and was on the verge of breaking down. Now that he heard the words Araki Takashi, his soul dissipated and his Tao dissipated. Su Zimo took off their storage bags and stuffed them into his robes. His essence spirit was restrained and he could not use dermic powers. It was also inconvenient for him to destroy the corpses. As such, he carried their corpses and threw them into the nearest forest. At that moment, the night was dark. In the forest, birds and beasts ran amok. Roars rose and fell one after another. Every corner of the forest was playing out a massacre. The corpses of the 3 Jinying Jinjuan would be eaten by demon beasts before long after they were thrown in. After doing that, Su Zimo clapped his hands and turned to leave, returning to Baiming town. Baiming Shui was still breathing in the room. She did not notice anything from the beginning to the end. She did not know that someone had helped her resolve a life and death calamity earlier on. Su Zimo smiled indifferently and returned to his room, closing his eyes to rest. He did not intend to tell Kitsune about this. In Su Zimo's eyes, the 3 Jinying Jinjuan were as insignificant as ants. This matter was as easy as lifting a finger. The next morning, Kitsune made breakfast and sent it to Su Zimo's room. Su Zimo casually took out the 3 storage pouches from last night and handed them to Kitsune, saying, "Take them, I have no use for them." Kitsune took the 3 storage bags and glanced at them. Her heart skipped a beat. "Is this Jinying Jinjuan's storage bag?" Kitsune asked tentatively. "I guess so," Su Zimo said. Kitsune asked again, "Where did Mr. Su get it?" "I picked it up when I went out last night," Su Zimo said casually. Kitsune pursed her lips and did not continue asking. In fact, there was a small unique symbol on the 3 storage bags. Unless one looked carefully, it was hard to notice. However, Kitsune was a member of the Kitami clan after all. Naturally, she was extremely familiar with the symbol. If she was not mistaken, the symbol on the 3 storage bags was from the Nangong family. These were the storage bags of the Nangong family, the 3rd Jinying Jinjuan. Even though Su Zimo said it calmly, Kitsune could sense a hint of bloodthirst in his tone. Kitsune was smart and did not continue asking. She kept the 3 storage bags in her own storage bag. There was a spirit consciousness seal on Jinying Jinjuan's storage bag. Her cultivation realm was not high enough and she could not erase it yet. She had to cultivate her essence spirit first. There's still more than a year before the aristocratic family competition, right? Su Zimo asked casually. Kitsune nodded. Su Zimo raised his head and looked at Kitsune, asking again, "Do you want revenge?" Kitsune lowered her head slightly. After a long silence, she said slowly, "Yes." Su Zimo could tell that there was a hint of melancholy in this young girl's eyes. The Baiming family had long declined. Compared to the Dongfang family, it was like an ant facing a divine elephant. Kitsune and Dongfang Ji had a huge difference in status as well. Dongfang Ji was high and mighty like a princess. On the other hand, she was just a lowly mortal struggling in the mortal world. Even though she had already cultivated the blood Qi Jin Dan and her combat strength was much stronger than before, she could not escape her current fate. Her life was still in the hands of the Dongfang family. Go and cultivate. You've just cultivated the blood Qi Jin Dan. Don't slack off. Su Zimo smiled and said, "The last 3 transformations of Wu Dao's 9 transformations are the essence of the Martial Sutra. If you can cultivate to the last transformation, you can suppress all the prodigies of the younger generation of the 3 aristocratic families in the aristocratic family competition a year later." Baiming Shui nodded solemnly. Actually, she still felt bitter in her heart. Even if her combat strength was heaven-defying, she could not offend the prodigies of the 3 aristocratic families. She was fine. At most, she would die. However, she was worried that she would implicate her brother and the Kitami clan. There were still many restraints and fetters in her heart. The reason why she let Nangong Yu go yesterday was also because of various restraints. In the pugilistic world, there was no freedom. It was not that easy to take revenge. Su Zimo could naturally see the worries in Kitsune's heart. However, he did not say much. All these years, he had been hiding here and living in seclusion. He had almost never fought or revealed his identity. The reason why he wanted to give Kitsune enough time and space to grow. Once his identity was exposed, there would be endless trouble waiting for him. At that time, he would be too busy to take care of himself and would not have the time and energy to teach Kitsune. However, just because Su Zimo did not make a move, it did not mean that he would not make a move. Right now, Su Zimo was like a sleeping true dragon, quiet and unmoving. Everything was calm. Once a true dragon opened its eyes, it would be shocking. The aristocratic family competition. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes and murmured. 10 days later, at the Nangong residence. In the meeting hall, Nangong Yu sat in the middle with a bewildered expression. A few bloodied clothes were piled at her feet and there was a trace of fear in the depths of her eyes. A few elders sat below her with grim expressions. Does that mean that the old master and the other two are already dead? An elder asked with a frown. Nangong Yu nodded and pointed at the bloodied clothes at her feet. There's no mistake. Father was wearing this Taoist robe before he left. An elder said with a puzzled expression, I went to the forest to take a look. The strongest cultivator was a Jin Dan realm spirit demon. How did the old master and the others die there? Could there be some powerful fiend demon hidden in there and killed the old master? Another elder said. Impossible. Nangong Yu shook her head and gritted her teeth. How can there be such a coincidence? My father went to Baiming Town and something happened to him. Are you saying that there's an expert in Baiming Town? An elder frowned. Right now, the strongest person in the Kitami clan is their clan leader, Jining Jinjuan. He doesn't have much lifespan left and his combat strength can't even compare to mine. How can he be a match for the old master? It's not him. Nangong Yu shook her head as a sickly green figure flashed through her mind. Her heart skipped a beat as she murmured, could it be him? Chapter 1346. Who? An old man immediately asked. Nangong Yu slowly shook her head and said, I'm not sure either. I only know that this person is wearing a green robe and his face is yellow, as if he has not recovered from a serious illness. He also does not have any spiritual energy, no different from an ordinary person. This person is not from the Kitami clan. He suddenly appeared in Baiming Town about a year ago. An old man said doubtfully, no spiritual energy, could he be cultivating Wu Dao? Impossible. Nangong Yu said, Wu Dao trains his body, how can he be as weak as him? Furthermore, even if he cultivates Wu Dao, after breaking through to the Jindan stage, he has to cultivate his primordial spirit. It is impossible for him to not have any spiritual energy fluctuations. Who cares? An old man with a fiery temper leaped up and said loudly, let's bring people over and capture all the people of Baiming Town. We'll just interrogate them one by one. If no one steps forward, we'll just kill all the people of Baiming Town. Nangong Yu's expression changed slightly and she said in a low voice, Third uncle, don't be rash. What? The old man raised his eyebrows and said loudly, although our branch is a branch of the Nangong clan, we are not to be provoked by the people of Baiming Town. Your father is dead. How can we not take revenge for such a blood feud? Nangong Yu shook her head and said, Third uncle, calm down and think carefully. In our residence, the strongest person is my father. If my father is already dead, we will only die for nothing if we act rashly. The old man's expression changed. In their branch, the person with the highest cultivation was Jining Jinjuan. If the person who killed Nangong Shing was still in Baiming Town, then they would only be seeking their own deaths if they charged over. At this thought, the old man secretly rejoiced and felt a sense of lingering fear. Then what do we do? Are we just going to ignore this matter? Another old man was indignant. If we can invite the powerhouses of the clan's direct line of descent to step in, this matter will be much easier to handle, another old man muttered. The Nangong family had many collateral bloodlines. There were at least 1,000 branches like Nangong Yu's, but there was only one direct branch. Therefore, Although the surname was Nangong, there was a huge disparity between the status of the collateral branch and the direct branch. The difference in strength was also like the difference between heaven and earth. For example, among the collateral members of the Nangong family, the highest cultivation realm was only at the nascent soul realm or the void return realm. If a clansman with a collateral bloodline could cultivate to the Dharma characteristic realm, they would have a chance to integrate into the direct lineage. As for the direct bloodlines of the three aristocratic families, there were many experts such as the Dharma Daojun, conjoint body mighty figures, and even Mahayana patriarchs. It was definitely not a fluke that the three aristocratic families were on par with the super sects of the immortal, Buddhist, and fiend sects. Therefore, among the thousands of branches, Nangong Yu's branch was completely insignificant and unremarkable. Even if they went to the direct line of descent and mentioned this matter, they might not be able to invite the powerhouses of the direct line of descent. After pondering for a long time, Nangong Yu said, "Why don't we put this matter aside for a period of time? I heard that Ling Shu will return from the Middle Continent in more than a year and bring his clansmen to Shimen Manor to participate in the aristocratic family competition." Ling Shu? What Ling Shu? An old man asked with a frown. Nangong Yu said in a deep voice, "He's a direct bloodline descendant of our Nangong family. When he was young, he was sent to the Middle Continent to cultivate. I heard that he joined one of the 4 unorthodox groups and was even ranked on the Jin Dan phenomenon ranking. He can be considered as a true paragon of the Nangong family. You have ties with that person?" The eyes of the few old men lit up. To be able to bring his clansmen to participate in the aristocratic family competition, he had to be at the void reversion realm at the very least. All these years, there had not been a single void reversion in their branch. Nangong Yu shook her head. "There's no such thing. Father and I merely met him once. When he returns, we'll visit him personally and try our luck." "That's good as well." The few old men nodded. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, the aristocratic family competition of the southern region was approaching. Very few clansmen of the 3 aristocratic families of the southern region participated in the Jin Dan phenomenon ranking. However, among the 3 aristocratic families, there was a grand event that was on par with the Jin Dan phenomenon ranking, the aristocratic family competition that was held once every 100 years. The 3 aristocratic families would send out their younger generation disciples to compete in 2 major competitions. The first segment was a fight between Foundation establishment cultivators. The second segment was a fight between perfected beings of Jin Dan. Naturally, the main event was the fight between perfected beings of Jin Dan. At that time, the paragons and monster incarnates of the 3 aristocratic families would appear to compete for a ranking in the aristocratic family competition and fight for the generous rewards to make their names known throughout the southern region. Although a fight as such was not as grand as the Jin Dan phenomenon ranking, it was still extremely intense with many powerful phenomenons clashing. Every single generation, 1 or 2 top monster incarnates and peerless geniuses would be born. This day, 3 figures stood on auspicious clouds in midair above the territory of the Nangong family. A man and 2 women walked over slowly, chatting happily. The man wore blue Taoist robes and had a dignified appearance. He pointed to the mountains and rivers in the distance and spoke in high spirits. One of the women's white robes fluttered in an ethereal manner. She was extremely beautiful and every single action she made had the bearing of a major sect as she pursed her lips and smiled from time to time. The other young woman was also slender and elegant. She was extremely lively as she chattered and danced with joy. She was extremely excited. "Hanyan, look over there." The blue-robed man pointed to a courtyard in the distance. "That's my residence. There's still a few days before the aristocratic family competition. Let's rest there first." "Wow, it's so huge." The lively girl looked at the vast courtyard in the distance and was secretly speechless. This courtyard was like a paradise. There were mountains and rivers in the courtyard, and there were many servants, spirit gardens, beast pens, everything was available. The white-robed woman called Han Yen was shocked as well as she exclaimed, "The 3 aristocratic families' power in the southern region is truly immense and unshakable. Just from this courtyard alone, you can see it. Actually, in the ancient era, there were 4 aristocratic families in the southern region. However, one of the ancient aristocratic families declined and never rose again. The blue-robed man said casually. Pausing for a moment, the blue-robed man turned and smiled. Xian, you must be tired. Rest early today. The lively girl glanced sideways at the blue-robed man and pouted her lips, as though she could read his thoughts. Are you complaining that I'm disturbing you guys? The blue-robed man coughed gently to hide his awkwardness when his thoughts were exposed. The white-robed woman spat softly as well and blushed slightly. The blue-robed man said, Junior sister, what are you talking about? The reason why I invited you guys to the southern region is so that you guys can relax. Who knows, you might be able to sense an opportunity to break through to the void reversion realm and catch up to my cultivation realm. Furthermore, I'll be bringing the Nangong family over for the aristocratic family competition. At that time, it'll be quite lively. That's great, that's great. The lively girl clapped her hands excitedly. The white-robed girl was much quieter and merely smiled gently. Not long after, the 3 of them arrived in the sky above the mansion. The lively girl looked down and said, What are those people doing? They seem to be from your Nangong family as well. Chapter 1347. A few cultivators stood at the entrance of the mansion, looking up at the blue-robed man and the other 2 with respectful expressions and anticipation in their eyes. Those people were Nangong Yu and the others who had rushed over from afar. Apart from Nangong Yu, the other 3 old men were Jining Jinjuan, his uncles. I'm Nangong Yu. Greetings, Ling Shu. Before the blue-robed man had even descended, Nangong Yu had already bowed deeply and shouted loudly. Ling Shu. On the auspicious cloud, the lively girl chuckled. Senior brother Nangong, you're quite senior. The blue-robed man looked down at Nangong Yu and frowned. He could tell that Nangong Yu was a collateral bloodline of the Nangong family. However, he did not remember having any interactions with this person. Do we know each other? The blue-robed man and the 2 women walked down from the auspicious cloud and looked at Nangong Yu, who was bowing before him, asking indifferently. He did have the right to be proud. He was a void reversion and this Nangong Yu was only a perfected Jin Dan. He was a direct descendant of the Nangong family. If it was any other time, he would not care about a collateral bloodline of the perfected Jin Dan. But now, with a beautiful woman by his side, he couldn't show too much coldness and decisiveness, so he asked a question symbolically. With an embarrassed expression, Nangong Yu chuckled dryly. Many years ago, I met Ling Shu once. He might not remember me. Indeed, he doesn't remember. The blue-robed man nodded. The lively girl at the side burst into laughter. The white-robed woman glared at her. Thereafter, the lively girl seemed to realize that she was being impolite and suppressed her laughter while continuing to listen at the side. Nangong Yu let out a chuckle. The other nascent soul realm old men also had cautious expressions as they awkwardly smiled at the side. Why are you looking for me? The blue-robed man asked. Yes, there is. Nangong Yu quickly said, My father might have been harmed by someone from Baiming Town. I want to find Ling Shu to seek justice for me and take revenge. Possible? The blue-robed man frowned. Definitely. Nangong Yu hurriedly corrected herself. It must be someone from Baiming Town. The blue-robed man lost interest and said, The Kidami clan doesn't have many clansmen left. Why do you want to kill your father at the risk of being exterminated? Nangong Yu hesitated for a moment and was stumped by the question. The blue-robed man continued, In addition, the 3 great clans have been suppressing the Kidami clan all these years. I remember that the Kidami clan doesn't have any experts left. How could they kill your father like that? The one who killed my father should be an outsider. Nangong Yu hurriedly said, This person is rather mysterious and I can't tell his cultivation realm. He always wears green robes and seems to be seriously ill, like a downtrodden scholar. Hearing the words green robes, the white-robed woman was slightly stunned. She seemed to have thought of something and lowered her head slightly with a dim expression. Hanyan, what's wrong? The blue-robed man noticed the white-robed woman's abnormality and asked with a voice transmission. It's nothing. The white-robed woman shook her head slightly and said, when this person mentioned green robes, I thought of Uncle Master. He also likes to wear green robes, but unfortunately, the white-robed woman sighed. Don't be sad. The blue-robed man sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness and said gently, Uncle Master is blessed by the heavens and was exiled to the void. Perhaps he's not dead yet. In the end, even he didn't believe it himself and his tone gradually weakened. Nangong Yu continued, please come forward and avenge me, Ling Shu. Nangong Yu will remember this kindness and repay it with my life. In fact, asking this Ling Shu to take revenge was only one of Nangong Yu's purposes. His more important purpose was to use this opportunity to get closer to this person and increase his chances of joining the direct line of descent in the future. The lively girl next to him couldn't help but say, if I were you and someone killed my father, I would definitely take revenge with my own hands. My cultivation isn't enough now, so I'll work hard to cultivate. Sooner or later, I'll personally take revenge for my father. Nangong Yu smiled embarrassedly. His face was red and he was angry in his heart. However, he didn't know the girl's identity and didn't dare to rashly refute or argue. The blue-robed man also shrugged and waved his hand. Like what she said, if you want revenge, do it yourself. Don't come to me. I'm not interested. As he spoke, the blue-robed man led the two women beside him towards the mansion. He was really not interested. If he went to any random branch family member who came to him for help, he would probably be exhausted and wouldn't be able to rest every day. Moreover, he had a beautiful girl to accompany him and wouldn't have the mood to care about such things. Moreover, it would be the aristocratic family competition in a few days and he still had to bring the Nangong family members to participate. He didn't want to waste his energy on such unimportant things. Nangong Yu looked anxious. Seeing that the blue-robed man was about to enter the mansion, this opportunity was fleeting. He suddenly had an idea and said, Ling Shu, my father's death is very likely because he discovered the Baiming family's secret. The blue-robed man paused and frowned. This news was a little interesting. Secret? What secret? The vivacious girl's eyes lit up as she asked hurriedly. The blue-robed man said telepathically, legend has it that the ancient Kidami clan is guarding a huge secret. However, no one has discovered it all these years. No one has discovered it after so many years. I guess it's fake. The vivacious girl was slightly disappointed and curled her lips. It's hard to say. However, since ancient times, most cultivators of the three aristocratic families are willing to believe in this legend, the blue-robed man said. Nangong Yu saw that the blue-robed man had stopped and was silent. He also realized that he had hit the nail on the head. He braced himself and continued, my father must have discovered this secret and was killed to silence him. Of course, this was Nangong Yu's nonsense. However, logically speaking, it made sense. Moreover, it was related to the secret of the Kidami clan. The blue-robed man was also a little tempted. Why don't we go and take a look? The vivacious girl secretly urged. She didn't care about revenge. She was just curious about the secret and couldn't resist the itch in her heart. Hanyan, what do you say? The blue-robed man turned and looked at the white-robed woman beside him and asked gently. I'm fine with anything. The white-robed woman smiled slightly. You're the owner here. It's up to you. I'll just watch from the side. Then let's go and take a look. The blue-robed man made a decision. Anyway, there are still a few days before the aristocratic family competition. Let's go to Baiming Town and see what secrets there are. Nangong Yu was overjoyed. The elders behind him were also beaming with joy. No matter what, their relationship with this Ling Shu had become closer. Bitch, who told you to be so arrogant? Nangong Yu looked in the direction of Baiming Town and gritted her teeth. She sneered. Kitsune, just you wait. Nangong Yu, am back. Chapter 1348. Baiming Town. Sister, don't worry. I'm still at the early stage of the Jin Dan realm. However, I've awakened the Jin Dan phenomenon. I'll definitely shock everyone in this aristocratic family competition. Baiming Ao said confidently. Cultivation was not easy. 2 years ago, Bai Ming-ao was already at the early stage of the Jindan realm and even condensed the Jindan phenomenon. However, he still could not break through after 2 years. Kitsune smiled gently and helped Bai Ming-ao tidy up his collar, reminding him, "Little brother, don't underestimate any of your opponents in the aristocratic family competition. You must be extremely careful and prioritize your own safety." In 3 years, Bai Ming-ao had already grown into a 15-year-old youth and was almost as tall as Kitsune. Kitsune was also 18 years old and was becoming more elegant and refined. "Sister, don't worry." Bai Ming-ao raised his fist and said in a deep voice, "Given my combat strength, even if I can't defeat the other party, I'll be able to escape unscathed." After pausing for a moment, a vicious glint flashed through Bai Ming-ao's eyes as he continued, "Sister, don't worry. I'll definitely find Dongfang Ji and avenge you." "There's no need." Kitsune shook her head. "I'll deal with this matter myself." Bai Ming-ao was stunned. He did not understand how his sister, who was now a cripple with her Jindan, would deal with this matter herself. For the past 3 years, he had spent most of his time in the clan's main hall, cultivating with many of his peers in the town, and did not return much. 3 years had passed. Naturally, his body had changed quite a bit. The strangest thing was that Bai Ming-ao could vaguely sense that this sister of his seemed to have undergone some indescribable changes as well. "Sister, the aristocratic family competition is in 3 days' time. I've got to make a trip to the ancestral hall. The old clan leader still has some instructions for us." Bai Ming-ao stood up and bid farewell. "Go on." Kitsune nodded gently and smiled. Bai Ming-ao turned and left. After leaving, he intentionally glanced at Su Zimo, who was not far away, and harumphed coldly. For the past 3 years, Su Zimo had not left at all. Bai Ming-ao's attitude towards him had changed as well. At the very least, it wasn't as hostile as it was initially. "Mr. Su, is your injury still not better?" Kitsune came to Su Zimo and asked with concern. Over the years, her cultivation had grown. Her spirit had improved, and her chi and blood were vigorous. However, Su Zimo still looked the same. His face was yellowish and didn't show any signs of improvement. Kitsune was also worried. Su Zimo smiled helplessly. The power of the life-severing curse was extremely difficult to deal with. He had been unable to dispel it for 3 years. The fact that the witch race could be ranked as one of the primordial 9 races was indeed terrifying. "There are many spiritual objects in this world. Is there any treasure that can cure your illness?" Kitsune asked again. "I might need the primordial divine spring," Su Zimo said casually. "Primordial divine spring?" Kitsune looked confused. She had never heard of it before. Su Zimo smiled. He was only saying it casually and naturally did not expect to get any information from Kitsune. A moment later, Kitsune lowered her head slightly and whispered, "Mr. Su, sorry to disappoint you. I didn't manage to cultivate the final transformation." Su Zimo smiled and his gaze turned gentle. "You've already cultivated it very well." Su Zimo nodded. Bai Mingshue's expression was a mixture of surprise and joy. For the past 3 years, Su Zimo had always been extremely strict with her and had never praised her as such. Su Zimo said, "I wasn't wrong about you to be able to cultivate to Wu Dao's 8th transformation in 3 years. It's extremely difficult to cultivate Wu Dao's final transformation successfully. You might need an opportunity or some pressure. It's not your fault." Right now, Kitsune was already at Wu Dao's 8th transformation, Invincible Diamond. Su Zimo said, "Even if you didn't cultivate Wu Dao's final transformation, your current combat strength is enough." Kitsune clenched her fists slightly and looked at her hands. Up till this point of her cultivation, she had yet to fight against a true paragon of Jindan realm. Therefore, she wasn't sure what level her battle prowess could reach. There were no Jindan phenomenons when she cultivated Wu Dao. Could she truly be able to fight against many ancient phenomenons with her body? A moment later, Kitsune suddenly raised her head and looked at Su Zimo with a complicated expression. After 3 years of interaction, no matter how muddle-headed she was, she could deduce that Su Zimo had an extraordinary background and was definitely a cultivator. Otherwise, how could an ordinary mortal have such a deep understanding of Wu Dao? Furthermore, Kitsune was smart. She could vaguely guess that this Mr. Su might have a special identity that was inconvenient for him to reveal. Therefore, she did not pursue the matter for the past 3 years. However, she still decided to do something today. Mr. Su, I was able to be reborn for the past 3 years because of your teachings. With a resolute gaze, Kitsune knelt down slowly and raised her head. I'm not an ungrateful person. If you don't mind, I'm willing to acknowledge you as my master and never betray you for the rest of my life. If I go against this oath, the human god. Su Zimo shook his head gently and reached out to touch Kitsune's forehead, interrupting her solemn oath. Actually, the reason why I imparted the Wu Dao to you was because I wanted to take you in as a disciple. Su Zimo said, however, my identity is special. If you were to become my disciple, you would probably have to endure unimaginable dangers and disasters. Therefore, I haven't mentioned this for the past 3 years. Kitsune looked fearless. I'm not afraid. I'm worried that as a member of the Kidami clan, I'll implicate you. You'll implicate me? Su Zimo could not help but laugh. The worst-case scenario for the Baiming family was that they would only be facing the 3 aristocratic families. What kind of enemies would he be facing? Su Zimo said, how about this? I'll tell you my identity. It's up to you whether you want to acknowledge me as your master or not. Master, no matter who you are, I won't regret it. Kitsune did not say anything else. She kowtowed to Su Zimo. Alright. Seeing that Kitsune was so decisive, Su Zimo did not refuse. He helped Kitsune up and said in a low voice, since you've acknowledged me as your master, you're my eldest disciple. I'll do my best to protect you. If he had not accepted Kitsune as his disciple, Su Zimo would have left today. He imparted his teachings to Baiming Shui and stayed here with her for 3 years. Although they were not master and disciple, it could be said that he had settled some karma. However, now that he had accepted Baiming Shui as his disciple, he could not leave as he pleased. At the very least, he had to accompany Kitsune to the end of the aristocratic family tournament. At this moment, Su Zimo's expression changed. As if he had sensed something, he frowned and looked towards the horizon. Someone was coming, and they were not friendly. Su Zimo speculated that the person was most likely someone from the Nangong family. After all, the 3rd Jining Jinjuan of the Nangong family had been dead for so long. It was impossible to hide it. The Nangong family would come knocking on their door sooner or later. Su Zimo's expression turned cold. He said indifferently, Baiming, stand behind me. I'll show you what I'm capable of. As he spoke, Su Zimo carried a chair and sat in the courtyard. He looked calm as he waited for the Nangong family to come knocking. Kitsune stood behind Su Zimo. She did not know why, but she was secretly excited. Chapter 1349. Above Baiming Town, Nangong Yu and 3 nascent soul elders rode a gigantic spirit vessel and tore through the air with a murderous aura. Dermic powers rumbled around the 3 Jining Jinjuan and their auras were rampant. The moment they arrived in Baiming Town, they caused a series of exclamations. Over the years, the Kidami clan had been on the decline. Most of the people from the 3 aristocratic families who came to the town to show off were juniors, foundation establishment cultivators, and perfected Jin Dan. Jining Jinjuan were rarely seen. But now that the 3 Jining Jinjuan had arrived, the pressure on the cultivators of Baiming Town increased exponentially. The 3 Jining Jinjuan have arrived at the same time. They're definitely hostile. The 3 Jining Jinjuan look murderous. I wonder why they're here. There's probably going to be blood today. I wonder which unlucky family will be the one to suffer. They seem to be heading towards Kitsune's courtyard. Some members of the Kidami clan discussed softly. Right then, many cultivators who were cultivating in the clan hall walked out one after another when they sensed the commotion outside. Baiming Ao stood in the crowd and looked into the distance. His expression changed starkly. Sister, Baiming Ao exclaimed. He could clearly see that the gigantic spirit vessel in midair had stopped above their house. 4 people walked down from it and one of them was Nangong Yu. The other 3 were Jining Jinjuan. Baiming Ao pushed through the crowd and rushed over. However, He had only taken a few steps when his arm was grabbed tightly by a withered hand. "Don't go over!" Behind Baiming Ao, a skinny old man hollered. "Clan leader, don't hold me back. Nangong Yu and the others are hostile. I have to go over and take a look." Baiming Ao shouted anxiously. "It's useless even if you go over." The patriarch of the Kidami clan shook his head and said, "Your combat power may be comparable to Nangong Yu, but he still has 3 Jining Jinjuan with him. Jining Jinjuan can mobilize his mana and kill you with a single thought." "But that's my sister." Baiming Ao continued to struggle. However, the clan leader of the Kidami clan was a nascent soul cultivator after all. He used his magic power to form a thread and pulled Baiming Ao tightly, not allowing him to pass. "Child, this matter is not simple." The patriarch of the Kidami clan looked into the distance and said in a low voice, "Look over there are 3 experts walking over. If I'm not mistaken, the man from the Nangong family in the middle should be at the return to void stage." The expressions of the surrounding young cultivators changed as they gasped. To them, the return to void stage was simply out of reach. It could be said that a void reversion could destroy the entire Dark North town with a single thought, leaving nothing alive. How long has it been since a void reversion arrived in the town? What exactly happened to alarm a void reversion of the Nangong family? Kitsune is most likely doomed. "I hope we won't be implicated." Some of the Dark North tribesmen whispered with wary expressions. Baiming Ao's body trembled slightly and his eyes were bloodshot. The patriarch of the Kidami clan sighed internally. "Child, it's better to stay here and watch. If this void reversion expert wants to harm Kitsune, you won't be able to do anything even if you rush over. You might even die. If this void reversion expert doesn't intend to harm Kitsune, it's the same even if you don't go over." Even though that was the case, Baiming Ao had to watch his sister face Nangong Yu, Jining Jinjuan, and even a void reversion. For him, that was an immense torture and pain. Baiming Ao's eyes were bloodshot and his breathing turned heavy as he grit his teeth. "If anything happens to my sister, I'll definitely make them pay with their lives." At that moment, Nangong Yu and the 3 Jining Jinjuan had already descended and landed in Kitsune's courtyard. Due to the tall walls, Baiming Ao and the others naturally could not see what was happening inside. However, the more that was the case, the more tormented Baiming Ao felt. "Sigh, let's hope that Kitsune is blessed by the heavens." The patriarch of the Kidami clan sighed. Actually, he knew that if even a void reversion was alarmed, this was definitely not a small matter. Kitsune was most likely doomed. Outside Dark North Town, the blue-robed man and the other 2 were in no hurry to enter Dark North Town. Instead, they stood on the clouds and looked down at the tiny town below. "This is Dark North Town?" The white-robed woman sighed. "To think that an aristocratic family that was on par with you guys in the ancient era would end up in such a state as well." "That's right. In such a small town, the highest cultivation realm is Jining Jinjuan. What secrets can there be?" The lively girl shook her head. Initially, she was still looking forward to it. But now, the town looked ordinary and the cultivators in it were bullied by the 3 aristocratic families all year round. They were lifeless and lifeless. "Hanyan, Xianxian, let's hurry over as well and see what kind of background that outsider has." The blue-robed man pointed in the direction of Nangong Yu and the others not far away. "Yes," the white-robed woman nodded. The 3 of them rode on an auspicious cloud and floated towards Kitsune's courtyard in a flash. Before they arrived, the blue-robed man and the other 2 looked down. The courtyard was not big and did not have any extra decorations. A green-robed man sat in the middle of the courtyard with an indifferent expression while a slender girl stood behind him. "That sister is so beautiful." The lively girl could not help but praise. The moment she said that, the lively girl felt her legs go soft and she almost fell from the auspicious cloud. "Senior brother Nangong, what are you doing? Why can't you control your auspicious cloud when you see a beautiful sister? Senior sister Hanyan, you've got to discipline him properly." The lively girl grumbled. However, no one replied. The air seemed to have frozen and the atmosphere turned strange. The lively girl turned around and saw the blue-robed man and white-robed woman looking down in shock with looks of disbelief. The blue-robed man's lips trembled slightly as he stuttered, What is it? The lively girl followed their gazes and looked towards the courtyard. When she saw the green-robed man, she was so shocked that she jumped up from the auspicious cloud. In the courtyard, Nangongyu came before Suzimo and scanned Suzimo and Kitsune before sneering. No wonder SL*T like you is so arrogant. So, you found a helper? How should I address you, fellow Taoist? Nangongyu asked sarcastically. Suzimo said calmly, My name is Suzimo. Oh, I've never heard of you. Nangongyu shrugged with a disdainful expression. The three nascent soul elders also raised their heads and laughed. A year ago, my father and 2 old servants died outside Baiming town. Do you know about this? Nangongyu stared at Suzimo and asked slowly. I killed them. Suzimo said indifferently. Kitsune's heart skipped a beat. A year ago, the 3 storage bags that her master gave her were indeed from the Nangong family. You're courting death. Nangongyu initially wanted to test him. However, he did not expect that Suzimo did not hide anything and admitted it directly. Move aside. Right then, a soft shout sounded from behind Nangongyu. The blue-robed man and the other 2 had already descended and were walking over quickly. Nangongyu looked at Suzimo as though he was looking at a dead man. He said with a menacing expression, Suzimo, Ling Shu is a void reversion that I invited. Today, I'll let you know the reason for your death. Chapter 1350. Void Reversion. Initially, Kitsune was still very confident in Suzimo. However, her heart skipped a beat when she heard that it was a void reversion. Instantly, she turned nervous and glared at the blue-robed man. To her, void reversions were unreachable existences that she had to look up to. This Ling Shu had an extraordinary aura and was clearly a direct descendant of the Nangong family. In Kitsune's opinion, no matter how strong Suzimo was, he would not be a match for a void reversion. In fact, she was even prepared to step forward and shoulder everything. Just as her thoughts were racing, the blue-robed man and the 2 women had already arrived before her with excited expressions. Suddenly, the blue-robed man paused and turned around to look at Nangongyu beside him, asking slowly, Just now, who do you want to die? Nangongyu pointed at Suzimo with an arrogant expression. You're the one who has a death wish. The blue-robed man slapped Nangongyu's face with the back of his hand, and with a loud shout, he heavily slapped her. The power of that slap was so great that Nangongyu was sent flying from where she was and rolled dozens of feet away. Half of her face was swollen and her bones were shattered. This change was extremely sudden. Not to mention Nangongyu, who was caught off guard, even Baiming Shui, who was tensed up, was shocked. Her first reaction was that the other party had hit the wrong person. However, right after, an even more shocking scene happened. The blue-robed man bowed deeply towards Suzimo in the manner of a junior and said respectfully, Greetings, Granduncle Master. The 3 nascent soul elders were dumbfounded and their jaws almost dropped to the ground. Granduncle Master? Kitsune blinked and her mind was in a mess. She had a calm personality. Even if her life was hanging by a thread, she would still be able to maintain her composure. However, at this moment, she had lost her composure. Could it be that not only did this Ling Shu hit the wrong person, he even recognized the wrong person? Nangong Ling, it's you. Suzimo glanced at the blue-robed man and said faintly. The blue-robed man before him was the disciple of Tao Lord Scarlet Star of Extreme Fire Sect. Back when Suzimo returned to 100 Refinement Sect with Extreme Fire, he happened to encounter Nangong Ling and the other 2 beings surrounded by Hellfire Hall. At that time, Suzimo felt that Nangong Ling had a sense of pride in her bones. She seemed to have an extraordinary background. Who would have thought that he was actually from one of the 3 great aristocratic families? Behind Nangong Ling were Yu Hanyun and Ru Xian. According to the seniority of Extreme Fire's lineage, Nangong Ling and the other 2 had to address Suzimo as Granduncle Master. Greetings, Granduncle Master. Yu Hanyun's white robes fluttered as she walked forward as well. She suppressed the excitement in her eyes and bowed deeply. However, Ru Xian did not care too much. She leaned forward and said in surprise, "Granduncle Master, you're still alive. That's great. We thought that something had happened to you and we were sad for you for a long time." Ru Xian was straightforward and sincere, saying whatever was on her mind. Nangong Yu had just struggled to get up from the ground. When she saw this scene, she was also stunned. Ling Shu actually addressed this person as Granduncle Master? What seniority was this person? Could Su Zimo be a member of my Nangong family as well? Nangong Yu was already in a headache after being slapped. Now that she was filled with so many doubts, her head was about to explode. However, the three nascent soul elders who came with him had terrible expressions. They did not think that much. They only knew that if Su Zimo was Nangong Ling's Granduncle Master, they had hit a metal plate this time round. Kitsune was confused. She could tell that Nangong Ling and the other two did not bow to Su Zimo as a greeting when meeting an elder. Instead, it was respect and concern from the bottom of their hearts. Is that how Master's methods are? It's truly unexpected and caught me off guard. Kitsune lamented internally. Granduncle Master, why are you in the southern region? Nangong Ling said respectfully, let me know in advance that you're coming to the southern region. I'll definitely pick you up. Nangong Ling was truly convinced by Su Zimo. Back in the Middle Continent, Su Zimo had saved their lives. Yu Hanyun looked at Su Zimo's expression worriedly and asked softly, Granduncle Master, are you injured? You don't look too good. My essence spirit can't channel the injuries from Heaven and Earth Valley and I can't use dermic powers now. Su Zimo said casually without hiding anything. Kitsune's heart skipped a beat and a thought flashed through her mind. Just now, Su Zimo's words seemed to have revealed an extremely important piece of information. However, the thought flashed through her mind and she could not figure it out for a moment. Granduncle Master, how should I treat this injury? What elixirs and herbs do you need? Tell me and I'll ask my family later. I'll definitely think of a way to get them. Nangong Ling said. Su Zimo shook his head. There's nothing I can do. The three aristocratic families definitely did not have the primordial divine spring. Otherwise, this news would have spread in the cultivation world a long time ago. Granduncle Master, what are you doing in Baiming Town? This is? Nangong Ling's gaze landed on Kitsune as he asked carefully. This is my eldest disciple, Kitsune. Su Zimo said indifferently. Nangong Ling was slightly stunned. However, he reacted quickly and bowed to Kitsune hurriedly. Greetings, Granduncle Master, Nangong Ling. Just now, the change was truly too fast and Kitsune had yet to digest it completely. Now that she saw a direct descendant of the Nangong family, a void reversion, bow to her, she was shocked and hurriedly turned sideways, waving her hand. Senior, there's no need for that. Greetings, Granduncle Master. Right then, Yu Hanyun bowed to Kitsune as well. Ru Xian greeted with a grin as well. Be it Yu Hanyun, Ru Xian or Nangong Ling, their statuses and cultivation realms were far above Kitsune's. Now that the three of them were bowing to her at the same time, she truly felt uneasy. It's fine. Su Zimo glanced sideways and nodded to Kitsune. You're my eldest disciple and your seniority is naturally higher than theirs. There's no need to feel burdened. Just accept it. Upon hearing Su Zimo's consolation, Kitsune gradually got used to it and said, there's no need to be so courteous. Get up. Thank you, Granduncle Master. Nangong Ling and the others stood up straight after bowing. In 100 Refinement Sect, etiquette and seniority were extremely important. Right then, Nangong Ling took out a shimmering silver inner armor from her storage bag and handed it to Kitsune, saying in a deep voice, Granduncle Master, this is a defensive inner armor that I personally refined. It's a perfect grade spirit weapon. Please accept it, Granduncle Master. This gift is too precious. Kitsune blushed and declined hurriedly. Perfect grade spirit weapons were extremely rare in the cultivation world. Not to mention her, even the cultivators of the three great clans did not possess a perfect grade spirit artifact. Nangong Yu, who was at the side, was jealous when he saw that. He had been in the Jindan realm for so long and only possessed a supreme-grade spirit weapon. However, it was broken by Kitsune. He did not even have a chance to obtain a perfect-grade spirit weapon. Chapter 1351. Kitsune looked at Suzumo helplessly. "Take it." Suzumo nodded with an indifferent expression. As his eldest disciple, it was truly nothing much for her to accept a perfect-grade spirit weapon. His essence spirit could not be used, nor could he open his storage bag. Otherwise, he would be able to take out at least 10 Khanate spirit weapons from his storage bag. Upon hearing Suzumo's words, Kitsune received the silver inner armor. Even with her calm personality, there was a hint of joy in her eyes. The Baiming aristocratic family once had a strong foundation as well. However, they were constantly oppressed and plundered by the 3 aristocratic families over the years. No matter how strong their foundation was, it had long been depleted. The Khanate, perfect and supreme-grade spirit weapons passed down by the Baiming aristocratic family had long been snatched away by the cultivators of the 3 aristocratic families. Right now, it was already rare for cultivators of Baiming Town to have a superior-grade spirit weapon. Yu Han-yun and Ru Xian took out 2 perfect-grade spirit weapons from their storage bags and handed them over as well. Kitsune hesitated for a moment before accepting them. Looking at the 3 perfect-grade spirit weapons in her hands, Kitsune felt as though she was in a dream that was unreal. Earlier on, she was still that lowly existence of the Kidami clan. But now, even the void reversions of the Nangong family had to address her respectfully as Uncle Master just because she acknowledged Suzumo as her master. What kind of person is master? A hint of confusion flashed through Kitsune's mind. So, it's a coincidence. Senior, you're also a member of the Nangong family. Nangong Yu walked over in trepidation. Her cheeks were swollen and she could not even speak clearly. However, she forced a smile. Junior Nangong Yu greets Senior. Nangong Yu reacted extremely quickly. When she saw that the situation was not right, she lowered her head and bowed to Suzumo. My surname is not Nangong, nor am I a member of the Nangong family. Suzumo didn't get up. He just stared coldly at Nangong Yu and said. Nangong Yu's expression froze. He had thought that since Suzumo was Nangong Ling's martial granduncle, he must be a member of the Nangong family. However, he had made a huge mistake. Suzumo's surname was Su, not Nangong. Even if Senior isn't a member of the Nangong family, you must be famous. Nangong Yu is blind to want to find trouble with you. Please forgive me, Senior. Nangong Yu smiled embarrassedly and lowered her head submissively. She no longer cared about her face and lowered her head completely. Yes, yes. The 3 nascent soul stage old men hurriedly followed suit. You might have heard of my Dao title before, Suzumo said indifferently. I'm Araki Takashi. Araki Takashi. Those 2 words seemed to possess a magical power. The expressions of Nangong Yu and the 3 Jining Jinjuan froze on their faces. Only their eyes were filled with endless fear and shock. The 4 of them were trembling slightly. In the entire cultivation world, there were not many people who could scare cultivators to the point of trembling with a single Dao title. Suzumo was definitely one of them. Notwithstanding the fact that Nangong Yu was only a Jindan realm and the 3 Jining Jinjuan, even the titular disciples of the super sects would shudder at the mention of Araki Takashi. Up till this point of his cultivation, Araki Takashi had risen against the trend and stepped on the corpses of the paragons and monster incarnates beneath his feet. Kitsune opened her mouth slightly and her beautiful eyes were filled with deep shock as well. Araki Takashi. Her master was the famous Dao Lord Araki Takashi of the cultivation world. It was no wonder why her master had such a thorough understanding of Wu Dao. It was no wonder why her master was unwilling to reveal his identity the entire time. It was no wonder that her master was worried that she would be implicated if he took her in as a disciple. There was only a single reason. Her master was Araki Takashi. The moment she heard that news, Kitsune's heart was filled with endless joy and pride instead of worry or fear apart from shock. Araki Takashi established the Dao and imparted martial arts to all living beings. To begin with, she had immense respect for Araki Takashi. No matter what rumors were circulating outside, Kitsune believed that Dao Lord Araki Takashi had a magnanimity that no one else could match. That magnanimity surpassed that of anyone from the orthodox sects and cultivators who claimed to be on the righteous path. Kitsune would be immensely satisfied even if she had the chance to meet Araki Takashi, let alone acknowledge him as her master. After Suzumo said that, he did not say anything else. Suddenly, the entire courtyard fell into dead silence. Nangong Ling lowered her head slightly and a cold glint flashed through her eyes. Turning around, he looked at Nangong Yu and the other three and said slowly, "The four of you, don't leave this courtyard today." Suzumo did not say anything else. However, the moment he said his Dao name, Nangong Yu and the other three had to die. Right now, Suzumo was on bad terms with some of the super sects of the Immortal, Buddhist and Fiend sections. If they knew that Suzumo was not dead yet, those super sects would definitely make a move. Furthermore, Suzumo's essence spirit was injured and his combat strength was greatly reduced. If Nangong Yu and the other three were to leave, it would be equivalent to placing Suzumo in an extremely dangerous place. Nangong Yu and the other three knelt down one after another, their faces pale from fright. "We're from the Nangong family after all, and the same blood flows in our bodies. Ling Shu, please spare us. Uncle Ling, please be magnanimous. After we leave, we definitely won't say anything." Nangong Yu cried bitterly and was already on the verge of a mental breakdown. Nangong Ling's expression was calm and unmoved. There were thousands of branch families of the Nangong family. As a direct bloodline descendant, he did not have any feelings for these branch families. In his heart, Suzumo was much more important. Swoosh! Suddenly, a tricolored flame appeared in Nangong Ling's palm. Samadhi Dao Fire. Nangong Ling had already obtained the legacy of the extreme fire lineage. Although his Samadhi Dao Fire was much weaker than Suzumo's Samadhi Dao Fire, it was more than enough to deal with Nangong Yu and the three Jining Jinjuan. Flames instantly enveloped Nangong Yu and the other three. "Ah!" Nangong Yu and the other three screamed. Flames surged into the sky. In the blink of an eye, Nangong Yu turned into ashes. He was only a perfected being Jin Dan and could not withstand the burning of the Samadhi Dao Fire. As for the three Jining Jinjuan, they only lasted for a moment before dying completely. Their flesh and bones were incinerated by the Samadhi Dao Fire. As the direct descendant of the Nangong family, Nangong Ling had once joined 100 Refinement sect and experienced many storms. She had even followed Suzumo and witnessed shocking battles such as the Thousand Crane Tea Party. To be able to cultivate to this point, he was not a soft-hearted person. Standing behind Suzumo, Kitsune looked at the dust that drifted down slowly in midair with a complicated expression and lamented. Right from the beginning, Suzumo did not stand up or attack. With just a few words, Nangong Yu and the other three were buried here. Clouds and rain with a flip of his hand, that was his master's methods. Chapter 1352. Baiming Town, in front of the clan hall. Baiming Ao looked at the blazing flames in the courtyard far away and called out with a trembling voice, "Sister." He could no longer hold back his tears and they flowed down instantly. When he saw that, Baiming Ao's first reaction was that his sister had already died in the sea of flames. The faint screams that came from the courtyard must have come from the green-robed man with the surname Su. The clan leader of the Kidami clan shook his head and sighed deeply as well. The remaining members of the Kidami clan had fearful expressions as well. Although they were far away, the energy fluctuations emitted by the Dao fire caused everyone's hearts to palpitate. That was the power of the void reversion realm. "My condolences, child." The clan leader of the Kidami clan looked at Baiming Ao and reminded, "Now that things have come to this, you mustn't be rash. Otherwise, you'll definitely die." The clan leader of the Kidami clan said earnestly, "There's only hope if you're alive." Baiming Ao gradually stopped crying. It was as though he had grown a lot in that instant. "That's right. There's only hope if you're alive." Baiming Ao gripped his fists tightly with a cold expression. In the courtyard, Nangong Yu and the other three were reduced to ashes, leaving behind 4 storage bags. Nangong Ling picked up the 4 storage bags and wiped away the spirit consciousness on them. Without even looking, she handed them to Su Zimo. Take them. Su Zimo glanced sideways and gestured for Kitsune to come forward. Kitsune was gradually getting used to her identity. When she heard Su Zimo's words, she took the 4 storage bags and kept them in her own storage bag while thanking him. Will you be in trouble after killing the 4 of them? Su Zimo looked at Nangong Ling and asked. Don't worry, Uncle Master. Nangong Yu is only a collateral bloodline with the surname of Nangong. No one will care about them. Nangong Ling said, moreover, as a direct descendant of the Nangong family, I still have some status among the younger generation of the family. That's good. Su Zimo nodded. Nangong Ling said again, Martial Granduncle, don't worry. I'll definitely take care of this matter. There won't be anyone from the Nangong clan looking for trouble with you. Su Zimo asked, why did you come back this time? Nangong Ling replied, my family summoned me back to bring my clansmen to participate in the aristocratic family tournament. I invited Han Yen and Xian Xian to come over and relax. Who are the participants of the aristocratic family tournament? Su Zimo muttered, will the patriarchs of the 3 great families show themselves? I won't. Nangong Ling shook her head. The aristocratic family tournament is only a fight between the foundation establishment cultivators of the younger generation and perfected Jin Dan. As for the patriarchs of the 3 great families, they are all conjoint body mighty figures. Naturally, they won't show themselves. Generally speaking, the 3 great families will send out the more outstanding paragons of their families to bring their clansmen to participate. This time round, I'm the commander of the Nangong family. Su Zimo nodded slightly and asked again, are the commanders of the Dongfang and Shimin aristocratic families also void reversions? More or less. Nangong Ling said, after all, this is only a fight between the younger generation. Seniors with high cultivation realms will not show themselves. A void reversion is enough to suppress the situation. After pausing for a moment, Nangong Ling continued, however, the aristocratic family tournament this time round is at Shimin Villa. This villa is an important place for the Shimin family and there will definitely be some Dharma Daojun there. As for whether there are any conjoint body mighty figures, I'm not sure. Su Zimo nodded. If it was just a Dharma Daojun, it would not be a threat to him. Even if his essence spirit was restrained and he could not use dermic powers or release any dermic arts, it would be difficult for the other Dharma Daojun to hurt him. If there were conjoint body mighty figures, it would be much more troublesome. Qinglian's true body alone would not be able to injure a conjoint body mighty figure. Of course, unless he had no choice, Su Zimo did not intend to become enemies with the 3 great aristocratic families. Nangong Ling could vaguely understand the meaning behind his words and asked probingly, Granduncle Master, are you planning to attack the 3 great aristocratic families? If Su Zimo had such plans, he would be in an extremely awkward situation. On one hand, he was a direct descendant of the Nangong family. On the other hand, he was also a disciple of the extreme fire lineage. Su Zimo could tell that Nangong Ling was worried and shook his head. You don't have to worry. I don't want to interfere in the feud between the 3 great aristocratic families and the Kidami clan. However, Su Zimo changed the topic and said slowly, Kitsune is my disciple. If anyone dares to bully her, they will be enemies with me, Araki Takashi. Nangong Ling's heart skipped a beat as she nodded. I understand, Granduncle Master. Yes, if there's nothing else, you guys can head back first. Su Zimo waved his hand. Granduncle Master, we just arrived and you chased us away before we could even speak to you. Ru Xian pouted slightly and complained. Let's go. Granduncle Master will definitely attend the aristocratic family competition in a few days as well. Yu Hanyun pulled Ru Xian and smiled gently. Nangong Ling and the other 2 bowed to Su Zimo before turning to leave. In front of the clan's main hall. When he saw Nangong Ling and the other 2 leave on an auspicious cloud, Baiming Ao could no longer hold it in and sprinted home with a sorrowful expression. Worried that something would happen to Baiming Ao, the clan leader of the Kidami clan followed closely behind. The remaining members of the Kidami clan rushed over as well. Bang! Bai Ming-ao pushed open the door and barged in. The moment he barged into the courtyard, he was stunned and dumbfounded. He had originally thought that his elder sister had died long ago, and that man surnamed Su had also been burned to ashes by the fire. However, he did not expect that these two people would appear in front of his eyes alive. The man surnamed Su leaned back in his chair with his eyes half closed with a relaxed expression. Bai Ming-shui was standing right behind him. Between her eyebrows, there was a hint of joy. Bai Ming-ao was a little stunned and could not recover for a moment. Some members of the Kidami clan came over as well and could not help but be shocked when they took a look inside. Kitsune was not dead? What the hell? Who was the one who was screaming in pain after being burned to death? The clan leader of the Kidami clan stood at the entrance with a stunned expression as well. Just now, Nangong Yu and the others had arrived with a ferocious killing intent, and even a void reversion was invited over. Yet Kitsune was fine? Something was wrong? The clan leader of the Kidami clan frowned slightly, feeling that something was amiss. Nangong Yu and the other three seemed to have vanished into thin air. The clan leader of the Kidami clan looked at the ashes in the courtyard and his pupils constricted as he thought of a possibility. However, that possibility was way too ridiculous. Would someone from the Nangong family kill one another? Sister, are you all right? Bai Ming-ao rushed to Kitsune's side with a delighted expression and sized up Kitsune from head to toe. In fact, he could not help but pinch himself viciously. It hurts. Bai Ming-ao grinned and laughed. It's not a dream, it's not a dream. Ha, sister is fine. Kitsune's gaze landed on some members of the Kidami clan at the entrance and declared, "Sorry for making you guys worry. I'm fine." Thereafter, Kitsune whispered, "Little brother, tell them to disperse and close the door. I have something to tell you." Bai Ming-ao was delighted when he saw that Kitsune was fine. Without thinking much, he rushed to the entrance and waved. "Disperse, my sister is fine." Chapter 1353. Sister, what's going on? Bai Ming-ao closed the door and could not help but ask, "Where's Nangong Yu and the others?" "They've left." Kitsune replied ambiguously. If she were to tell the truth, it would be difficult to hide Su Zimo's identity. She was intelligent and extremely cautious. She knew that Su Zimo's identity was sensitive and she could not reveal it casually even if he was her biological brother. Left? Bai Ming-ao was confused. Kitsune changed the topic and asked, "Little brother, the aristocratic family tournament is about to begin. What's your weapon?" Bai Ming-ao was delighted when he heard that question and took out a flying sword from his storage bag. There were 3 spirit patterns etched on the sword. It was a superior-grade spirit weapon. "Sister Lu," Bai Ming-ao said smugly, "the old clan leader gave this to me. There aren't many superior-grade spirit weapons in the entire Baiming town." The foundation of the Kidami clan had long been snatched away by the 3 aristocratic families. Even the cultivation techniques and secret manuals of the Kidami clan were snatched away by the 3 aristocratic families, let alone spirit weapons and dermic weapons. A superior-grade spirit weapon is not bad either. Kitsune nodded. However, you'll still be at a disadvantage against perfected being Jin Dan of the 3 aristocratic families in the aristocratic family tournament. Perfected being Jin Dan of the 3 aristocratic families would have at least 1 supreme-grade spirit weapon to participate in the aristocratic family tournament. It was normal for some of the peerless geniuses and monster incarnates that were heavily groomed by their families to possess perfect or connate spirit weapons. For example, Dongfang Ji, who destroyed Kitsune's Jin Dan, possessed 2 connate spirit weapons. One of them belonged to the Baiming family. "It's fine." Bai Ming-ao gripped his fists gently. "I have the Jin Dan phenomenon. Even if I lose in terms of weapon, I'll definitely be able to get a good ranking. The old clan leader told me that if I can get into the top 100, I'll make a request to the 3 aristocratic families to allow me to leave Baiming town and explore the outside world. As long as I leave the territories of the 3 great families, the sky is high and the sea is wide. Who knows, I might encounter some kind of opportunity and soar to the sky. Sister, don't worry. When the time comes, I will definitely take you with me." Kitsune's heart warmed. She nodded and said, "Little brother is considerate." She glanced at Suzumo with some hesitation, but still took out a flying sword and a silver inner armor from her storage bag and handed them over. Kitsune said, "Little brother, take these 2 spirit tools. You'll have a better chance at the aristocratic family tournament." Baiming-ao did not think too much about it. He took it and asked casually, "Sister, where did you get this spirit artifact?" Baiming-ao's expression changed slightly as he glanced around. He could clearly see that there were 5 spirit patterns carved on the body of the flying sword. Could it be? Baiming-ao was in disbelief as he channeled his spiritual energy into it. The body of the sword trembled and emitted a dazzling light. "A perfect spirit artifact," Baiming-ao exclaimed. He once again infused his spiritual power into the silver armor. A silver light barrier burst forth from the inner armor and shone with 5 spirit lights as well. It was also a perfect spirit artifact. Baiming-ao was shocked. "This," Baiming-ao stuttered as he spoke. After all, up till this point of his cultivation, he had not even touched a supreme-grade spirit artifact, let alone a perfect spirit artifact. He was already overjoyed when the clan leader of Kidami clan gave him a superior-grade spirit artifact. Now that he was presented with 2 perfect spirit artifacts, one could imagine how great of an impact that was. Kitsune was worried that Suzumo would not agree to it. Therefore, she was hesitant. However, in her heart, she still loved her younger brother and was worried that he would be in danger at the aristocratic family tournament. As such, she took out 2 of the 3 perfect dermic weapons that Nangong Ling and the other 2 gave her. However, right from the beginning, Suzumo did not express anything. He sat at the side quietly with his eyes closed, as though he was indifferent to the matter. "Little brother, don't ask me about the 2 spirit artifacts. I can't tell you." Noticing Baiming-ao's confusion, Kitsune shook her head. Although Baiming-ao was curious, he held it in. He only knew one thing. At the very least, his sister would not harm him. Keeping the 2 perfect spirit artifacts, Baiming-ao's gaze landed on Suzumo beside him instinctively. He could not help but extend his leg and kick Suzumo's seat. "Hey, why are you still here and not leaving? How many years has it been?" Baiming-ao said in annoyance. Kitsune's expression changed as she scolded sternly, "Little brother, don't be rude." "Sister, I didn't say anything." Baiming-ao muttered softly. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Kitsune. "Little brother, apologize to Mr. Su." Kitsune's expression was stern as she said slowly. Her tone was firm and unquestionable. Baiming-ao had never seen his sister this strict before. Although he was indignant, he was also a little afraid as he cupped his fists at Suzumo unwillingly. "Mr. Su, I'm sorry." Suzumo's expression was calm and he did not open his eyes the entire time, as though he was already asleep. What was his identity? He would not be calculative with Baiming-ao over such matters. Baiming-ao pouted his lips and looked at Suzumo with even more disdain. However, because of Kitsune, he swallowed back the sarcastic words that were about to come out of his mouth. Kitsune waved it off. "All right, continue cultivating in the ancestral hall. Don't expose the matter of the perfect spirit artifacts yet." "Don't worry, sister." Nodding his head, Baiming-ao did not linger and turned to leave. "Master, you won't blame me for giving the 2 spirit artifacts to little brother, right?" Kitsune pondered for a long time and asked softly, still feeling uneasy. Suzumo opened his eyes and smiled, shaking his head. "What's the big deal about that? It's just 2 perfect spirit artifacts. They're nothing impressive." His essence spirit was sealed and he could not open his storage bag. Otherwise, any random treasure he took out would far surpass any perfect spirit artifacts. Just now, Suzumo was considering what to give Kitsune as well. Right now, he was still not at Daiyu's level where all the gifts he could give were utmost treasures that could change a person's fate. However, Kitsune was his eldest disciple after all, and he could not give her something that was too shabby. After pondering for a moment, Suzumo removed a string of Buddha beads from his left wrist and handed it to Kitsune, saying indifferently, "I've worn these Buddha beads for many years. I'll give them to you today." Thank you, master. Kitsune received the Buddha beads and observed them carefully but could not make out anything. There were no traces of spirit patterns or spirit chi on the Buddha beads either. It looked ancient and seemed like it had been there for a long time. Kitsune did not think too much about it and wore the Buddha beads on her wrist casually. At that moment, she did not realize that the Buddha beads were the cornerstone treasure of a super sect in the cultivation world, the Mingwang prayer beads. Even a conjoint body mighty figure would be tempted and fight for the Buddha beads, let alone a perfected being of Jin Dan. Chapter 1354. As an important place of the Shimen family, the Shimen villa was usually heavily guarded and no outsiders were allowed to enter. But in the past 2 days, the Shimen villa had suddenly become lively. Because the grand competition of the 3 aristocratic families was about to begin. The elites of the 3 aristocratic families had arrived at the Shimen villa under the lead of their respective commanders the day before to participate in the grand competition. The Shimen villa had naturally arranged accommodation for the cultivators of the Dongfang family and the Nangong family. There were also many spiritual fruits and immortal wines for them to eat and drink. In a corner of the Shimen villa, the Kitami clan had gathered. There were about 10 of them. Su Zimo, Kitsune, and Baiming Ao were among them. Sigh, the Kitami clan has already fallen to this point. We don't even have a place to stay. Looks like we have to spend the night in the open. The 3 aristocratic families don't even take us seriously. Why would they arrange accommodation for us? Some of the Kitami clan members complained softly and sighed. The leader of the Kitami clan frowned slightly and shouted, "All right, we're here to participate in the grand competition of the aristocratic families. If you can get a good ranking, you'll be proud of the Kitami clan." At this moment, a group of cultivators wearing brocade robes walked over. They looked proud and arrogant. "It's Dongfang Xian." Baiming Ao saw the leader and could not help but grit his teeth. The one beside Dongfang Xian seems to be the monster of the Shimen family, Shimen Jingrui. I heard that he's already engaged to Dongfang Ji and will be her cultivation partner soon. Marriages between the 3 aristocratic families were common. Dongfang Xian's laughter was heard before he arrived. "Aren't you the legendary Baiming family? Sorry for the disrespect." Dongfang Xian smiled, his tone full of sarcasm. The members of the Kitami clan lowered their heads and blushed. However, they did not dare to make a sound. Dongfang Xian put on an act and said, "Brother Jingrui, this is the fault of the Shimen family. The Kitami clan is an ancient aristocratic family. How can you be so negligent and not even arrange accommodation for them?" "Baiming family?" Western Jingrui looked confused and said, "Why haven't I heard of it? There are so few people in the ancient aristocratic families. How come they aren't as prosperous as my Shimen clan?" "Sigh, perhaps they have declined." Dongfang Xian sighed and said, "But they have declined. After all, they are still an ancient family." If this can be called an ancient aristocratic family, then wouldn't there be aristocratic families everywhere? Shimen Jingrui shook his head and said, "No, no." The cultivators of the aristocratic families behind the 2 of them laughed without restraint. The 2 of them echoed each other, completely disregarding the Kitami clan. "Dongfang Xian, Shimen Jingrui, don't be so smug." Baiming Ao's expression was icy cold as he suddenly spoke. "If you meet me, Baiming Ao, at the clan grand competition, I'll definitely make you lose all your face." Shimen Jingrui sneered and ignored Baiming Ao. As a monster incarnate of the Jin Dan realm, he could be considered as the number 1 of the Shimen family and was even comparable to the paragons and successors of the super sects. Why would he take Baiming Ao, an early-stage Jin Dan cultivator, seriously? However, Dongfang Xian's expression darkened and a killing intent flashed through his eyes as he said coldly, "Little B****, watch your words. Otherwise, I'll kill you right now." Cultivators are prohibited from fighting in the villa before the competition begins. Baiming Ao said coldly. Dongfang Xian sneered. "That's between the 3 aristocratic families. In our eyes, cultivators of the Kitami clan are merely ants. We can crush you to death with ease." Dongfang Xian's words were not a threat. If he were to kill a cultivator of the Kitami clan in the villa, no one would punish him. There was no absolute fairness in the cultivation world. The prerequisite for fairness was that both parties had to be of equal strength. Baiming Ao, that's enough. The leader of the Kitami clan shouted hurriedly and bowed towards Dongfang Xian and Shimen Jingrui, smiling apologetically. Both of you are giants among men. Baiming Ao is still young and doesn't know any better. Please don't lower yourself to his level, young masters. Who allowed you to come out? Dongfang Xian raised his brow and scolded coldly, old thing scram. Let that little be **starred, Baiming Ao, apologize to me personally. As Jining Jinjuan, the leader of the Kitami clan had a cultivation realm above Dongfang Xian's. However, he could only endure Dongfang Xian's scolding silently and retreated with a sigh. It was as though he had aged significantly in an instant. Right from the beginning, Kitsune did not say anything. Her expression was cold as she clenched her fists tightly and endured. Su Zimo would not make a move either. He would let go of this matter completely and let Kitsune handle it. Unless someone crossed his bottom line. Baiming Ao stood in the crowd motionlessly with fire spewing from his eyes. But you're unwilling? Dongfang Xian glared and grinned. If you don't apologize to me, the entire Kitami clan will be in trouble. Go apologize. It's nothing much. That's right. After all, you were the one who provoked him. It has nothing to do with us. Some of the Kitami clan members could not withstand the pressure and whispered. Baiming Ao clenched his teeth so hard that creaking sounds could be heard. His face was ashen. Right then, a group of cultivators walked over from afar. They wore the Nangong family's robes and were rather eye-catching. The leader was the Jin Dan paragon of the Nangong family, Nangong Shi. Among the three major aristocratic families, Nangong Shi of the Nangong family, Dongfang Ji of the Dongfang family and Shimen Jingrui of the Shimen family were known as the three paragons of this generation of Jin Dan. Among them, Nangong Shi was the most famous. What are you guys doing here? Nangong Shi walked closer, smiled at the crowd, and asked aloud. Brother Nangong, you came at the right time. Dongfang Xian said, the little bastards of the Kitami clan are blind and offended me. I was just about to teach them a lesson. Nangong Shi smiled and said, what a coincidence. I have something to do as well. I'm inviting the three cultivators of the Kitami clan to my place. With that, Nangong Shi looked at Kitsune and Baiming Ao and cupped his fists. Fellow Taoists, please follow me. Thereafter, Nangong Shi's gaze landed on Su Zimo. And this gentleman, please follow me as well. Nangong Shi, what do you mean? Dongfang Xian frowned and asked coldly. Nangong Shi said indifferently, nothing. I'm inviting the three cultivators of the Kitami clan. Are you going to stop me? Brother Nangong, you're in the wrong. Shimen Jingrui said, it's fine if you want to invite the three of them, but Baiming Ao has to apologize to Dongfang Xian before he can leave. Nangong Shi said expressionlessly, Nangong Shi, don't say that. With that, Nangong Shi nodded at the Kitsune siblings and led them away. Su Zimo smiled faintly and followed behind. Dongfang Xian and Shimen Jingrui's faces were dark, but they were wary and did not stop them. The members of the Baiming clan all revealed looks of envy. Chapter 1355. Naturally, Baiming Ao was confused. Su Zimo and Kitsune were the only ones who knew the reason. Thank you, fellow Taoist Nangong. Baiming Ao cupped his fists towards Nangong Shi and thanked him. However, Baiming Ao's eyes were still filled with wariness. One who was unaccountably solicitous was hiding evil intentions. His first reaction was that the Nangong family was trying to rope them in to obtain some groundless secret. Nangong Shi smiled and was not bothered. Instead, his gaze lingered on Kitsune and Su Zimo for a couple of rounds. He merely received orders to bring the three of them over. Furthermore, the commander of the Nangong family, Nangong Ling, had given a clear order that the three of them were not to be neglected. However, Nangong Shi could not see anything special about the three of them. Baiming Ao was young and was a little rash. On the other hand, Kitsune was beautiful and elegant with an extraordinary aura. However, she was crippled after Dongfangji shattered her Jin Dan. 100 years of her lifespan was gone in the blink of an eye. As for the green-robed man, he could not see through him. Nangongshi shook his head. There were no signs of cultivation on that person, and he looked like a mortal scholar. However, he did not seem uneasy in Shimen Manor, the territory of cultivators. In fact, he was even calmer than the cultivators of the 3 aristocratic families, as though this was his own home. Nangongshi brought the 3 of them to a residence and smiled. The 3 of you can rest here tonight. The competition will only officially begin tomorrow. If there's anything, just summon the servants of the Nangong family. With that, Nangongshi turned and left. That's it? Baimingao was confused. He was still wondering what Nangongshi was up to by saving them and how he should deal with it. However, the other party turned and left. Come in and rest. You have to be refreshed for the competition tomorrow. Kitsune called out to Baimingao. This was a courtyard in Shimen Manor that was rather exquisite. There were fake mountains, flowing water, and a lush spirit garden. There were even some servants of the Nangong family inside. The place where the direct descendants of the Nangong family stayed was nothing more than this. What is this Nangong clan up to? Baimingao was still confused. But when he thought about the competition tomorrow, he temporarily suppressed these thoughts and began to rest and recuperate, preparing for tomorrow's great battle. Early the next morning, the manor that had been silent for the whole night gradually became lively. The members of the Kidami clan spent the whole night in the open air of the villa. The cold wind was bone-chilling. Although it was nothing for cultivators, they were still a bit dispirited. At this moment, Kitsune and Baimingao walked over. After resting for a night, Baimingao was full of vigor. Let's go. The head of the Kidami clan called out and headed towards the center of the villa. The aristocratic family tournament was set up in the most central area of the mountain villa, surrounded by spectator seats. The commanders of the 3 aristocratic families were seated, while the rest of the clansmen were standing. The spectator stands were arranged in a circle, and in the middle was the battlefield. The battlefield was divided into 10 huge platforms that rose from the ground. At this time, the spectator stands were almost full of people, and there was a hubbub of voices. The cultivators of the 3 aristocratic families had all arrived. At a glance, they were densely packed, and it was a spectacular sight. Yo, the Baiming family is here too? Hee, in my opinion, they are here to embarrass themselves. Many of the cultivators laughed when they saw the members of the Kidami clan, and their expressions were full of mockery. We don't have any seats here, scram to the side. A cultivator of the Shimen family scolded. In fact, there was an empty seat beside them, and it was more than enough to accommodate dozens of people. The head of the Kidami clan sighed in his heart. He did not argue and led his clansmen to the other side. Having lived to this age, he had long since lost the hot-bloodedness to fight for supremacy. He had expected to be humiliated in the aristocratic family tournament. Everyone from the Kidami clan, come over here. Nangongshi waved at the members of the Kidami clan. Su Zimo swept his gaze across. On the Nangong family's side, Nangong Ling, Yu Han Yun, and Ru Xian were sitting high in the spectator stands, surrounded by many spirit fruits and immortal peaches. Nangong Ling stood up hurriedly and wanted to walk towards Su Zimo. Su Zimo shook his head slightly. Nangong Ling finally stopped. Isn't this Nangong Ling? A chuckle sounded from afar. A cultivator of the Shimen family sat on a huge carriage and floated in midair, walking over slowly. There were many young and beautiful girls surrounding the carriage. The cultivator of the Shimen family had a relaxed expression as he drank his wine and said faintly, "You've been out training for many years. How have you been?" Shimen Zhe. Nangong Ling raised her brow. Shimen Zhe was the commander of the Shimen family this time round and was in charge of the aristocratic family competition. Nangong Ling, you probably don't even know us after joining one of the 4 unorthodox groups, 100 Refinement Sect, right? A void reversion of the Dongfang family flew through the air with an unfriendly expression. Dongfang, the commander of the Dongfang family this time round. The three of them were cultivators of the same generation and had known each other since they were young. However, Nangong Ling headed to the Middle Continent to train and join 100 Refinement sect while Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi cultivated in aristocratic families. The three of them had different trajectories. However, they were all elites of the same generation after all. Now that they were at the Void Reversion realm, they were famous. Although what happened last night was merely a small conflict between the juniors, Dongfang Yi and Shimin Zhe had already received the news. Therefore, the moment they met Nangong Ling today, their tones were sarcastic. Nangong Ling smiled faintly and ignored the two of them. Su Zimo stood in the crowd. He could not use his spirit consciousness and could only rely on his vision and hearing to scout his surroundings. As Nangong Ling had said, there were no cultivators with high cultivation levels present for this aristocratic family competition. The commanders of the three aristocratic families, Shimin Zhe, Dongfang Yi and Nangong Ling, were all at the Void Reversion realm. There were also some Void Reversions around the three of them. However, Su Zimo could sense that Dharma Daojun was definitely in this villa. As for conjoint body mighty figures, he could not detect them. Actually, Su Zimo was not interested in the aristocratic family competition at all. The reason why he was here was because he was worried about Kitsune. As his eldest disciple, there was no way he could leave Kitsune alone. At the very least, he would only leave after this matter was over. The sect competition had already begun. The foundation establishment cultivators of the aristocratic families ascended the stone platforms one after another and fought in pairs. A few foundation establishment cultivators of the Dark North aristocratic family also stepped forward. However, before long, the Dark North aristocratic family members were defeated by the cultivators of the three aristocratic families. At most, they could only make it through 2 rounds before being swept away. The Dark North aristocratic family did not have any cultivation techniques, spirit weapons or elixirs. However, the cultivators of the three aristocratic families had countless resources and the guidance of experts of their families. The difference in strength between the two sides was huge. Each time the Dark North aristocratic family was defeated, the crowd would mock them. "Little brother, don't be nervous. Given your strength, it won't be a problem for you to make it to the top 100. Kitsune consoled softly. Yes. Dark North aristocratic family nodded. It wasn't even noon yet, but the foundation establishment cultivator competition had already ended. Immediately after, it was the fight between perfected being Jean Dan. Chapter 1356. There were not many people from the Kitami clan participating in the perfected Jean Dan competition. Including Baiming Ao, there were only 3 of them. A few years ago, Kitsune's Jean Dan was crippled and she lost her qualification. All these years, she had been focusing on cultivating Wu Dao and did not mention this matter again. Kitsune's gaze pierced through the crowd and landed on a woman with a cold and arrogant expression among the Dongfang family's crowd. Dongfang. A few years ago, Dongfang Ji was the one who snatched her treasure and even broke her Jean Dan. She had never forgotten about this incident. Although she did not participate in the aristocratic family competition today, she would definitely settle this matter with Dongfang Ji. As if sensing something, Dongfang Ji glanced sideways and exchanged glances with Kitsune. Dongfang Ji's lips curled into a disdainful smile. In her eyes, Kitsune was a cripple who was no longer worthy of her attention. The Jean Dan competition began. The other 2 members of the Kitami clan were defeated by their opponents very quickly. Baiming Ao, on the other hand, had already defeated 3 opponents and entered the 4th round. Initially, no one noticed Baiming Ao. However, when Kitsune passed the 7th round and there were less than 100 opponents left, she finally attracted the attention of the 3 aristocratic families. This meant that Baiming Ao was now in the top 100 of this Jean Dan competition. To think that the Kitami clan could produce such a person. That's rare. The leader of the Shimin family, Shimin Zhe, narrowed his eyes with a cold glint. It's nothing much. Dongfang Yi said indifferently, he'll go up against Dongfang Xian. At that time, Dongfang Xian can easily suppress and cripple him. Time passed quickly. The members of the Kitami clan were getting more and more nervous as they watched Baiming Ao fight on the stone platform. Right now, there were less than 20 opponents left for Baiming Ao. Baiming Ao wins. A cultivator from an aristocratic family announced loudly. On the stone platform, Baiming Ao was panting slightly. He was already drenched in sweat from the continuous battles, but he still looked extremely excited. Just now, at the most critical moment, he had used the perfect grade flying sword that Kitsune had given him to defeat his opponent. Currently, his ranking had already reached the 20th place. If he were to quit while he was ahead and admit defeat, he would still be able to obtain extremely generous rewards. He might even be able to request the 3 aristocratic families to go out and train. However, Baiming Ao still did not want to withdraw, because his next opponent was Dongfang Xian. He wanted to defeat Dongfang Xian fair and square. Little brat, it seems that we've been too lax in our plundering of your possessions all these years. You actually have a perfect spiritual weapon on you. Dongfang Xian leaped onto the stone platform and said coldly, "If you hand over this perfect spirit artifact now, I might spare your life. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Dongfang Xian, cut the crap and accept the challenge. Baiming Ao hollered and waved his sleeves, summoning his perfect grade flying sword and attacking first. The flying sword turned into a streak of light and pierced towards Dongfang Xian. Dongfang Xian's expression turned cold as he swiped his storage bag and summoned a perfect grade flying sword as well, slashing forward. Clang! Sparks flew everywhere as the 2 perfect grade flying swords collided. Baiming Ao's expression changed slightly. He had expended a huge amount of stamina after the entire battle. Furthermore, he was only at early stage Jin Dan while Dongfang Xian was already at late stage Jin Dan. There was a difference of 2 minor cultivation realms between them. It was clear that Baiming Ao felt powerless in this head-on clash. Clang, clang, clang. Both of their flying swords fought with speed. Dongfang Xian was clearly more skilled and his sword techniques were complicated, unpredictable and unpredictable. As for Baiming Ao, he did not cultivate any advanced sword-wielding techniques and merely used some basic sword techniques. Before long, Baiming Ao was completely suppressed by Dongfang Xian. Jin Dan phenomenon. Finally, Baiming Ao could not hold on any longer and released the power of his phenomenon. A boundless ocean appeared behind him, emitting a cold aura and causing the surrounding temperature to plummet. It's the Northern Ocean. After so many years, someone has finally managed to cultivate the legacy phenomenon of the Baiming family. A series of exclamations sounded from the crowd. At the spectator area, Shiminze and Dongfang Yi had indifferent expressions and were indifferent. As void reversions, they were discerning and could naturally tell that Baiming Ao was already at the end of his rope. Even if he summoned the Northern Ocean, he would not be able to last for long. Purple Qi from the east. Dongfang Xian hollered softly and summoned his Jin Dan phenomenon as well. A beam of purple Qi appeared behind him, emitting a brilliant glow and a powerful rare phenomenon as it collided with the Northern Ocean. Boom! Instantly, a series of raging waves burst forth when the purple Qi collided with the Northern Ocean. Seawater splashed. Baiming Ao's face was frightfully pale and his phenomenon swayed. It was about to collapse. It was not that his Jin Dan phenomenon was not strong enough. Instead, his spirit energy was already depleted and he could not withstand such a head-on collision. Admit defeat. The clan leader of the Kitami clan shouted hurriedly. The Kitami clan admits defeat. The aristocratic family competition was still mainly about sparring and not fighting to the death. As long as one party admitted defeat, the other party could not be ruthless. However, Dongfang Xian was unmoved when he heard the clan leader of the Kitami clan shout. Instead, his eyes shone with a sinister killing intent as he said coldly, "It's too late to admit defeat now. This brat is arrogant. I'm going to cripple him today as a warning to others." Boom! Dongfang Xian channeled the Jin Dan in his body to its limits and the purple Qi shone brightly. Instantly, it broke through the Northern Ocean and landed in front of Baiming Ao's chest. In the blink of an eye, Baiming Ao's chest shone with a silver light and blocked most of the Jin Dan phenomenon's power. Even so, Bai Ming-ao was still sent flying far away. He spat out a mouthful of blood and looked dispirited. If it was not for the silver inner armor that Kitsune gave him, he would be a dead man by now. Another perfect spiritual artifact. The Kidami clan's foundation is still strong. Bai Ming-ao already has 2 perfect spiritual weapons. He's not dead? Dongfang Xian's expression turned cold. He leaped up with purple chi behind him and chased after Bai Ming-ao, who was outside the stone platform. Bai Ming-ao has already admitted defeat and fell from the stone platform. You can't kill him anymore. The clan leader of the Kidami clan stood out and shouted, "Old man, you better mind your own business." A Jining Zhenjuan from the Dongfang family said slowly, "The rules of the aristocratic family tournament are only for us 3 aristocratic families. The Kidami clan is nothing." Before Bai Ming-ao's body landed on the ground, Dongfang Xian had already caught up with him. "Brat, let's see who can save you today." The power of the phenomenon behind Dongfang Xian surged violently and smashed towards Bai Ming-ao. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of Bai Ming-ao like a ghost. Kitsune. Kitsune slowly extended her palm and clenched it into a fist. She punched towards Dongfang Xian and said coldly, "Get lost." Chapter 1357. Kitsune. That woman's Jean Dan is crippled. Is she courting death? Everyone from the Baiming family is truly idiots. Against Dongfang Xian's Jean Dan phenomenon, even low-grade spirit weapons will be shattered, let alone bodies of flesh and blood. Many cultivators burst into laughter when they saw that. Of course, there were some who did not laugh. Su Zimo had an indifferent expression and merely watched everything quietly. At the spectator area, Nan Gongling, Yu Hanyun and Ru Xian did not laugh either. That was because they knew that Kitsune was the disciple of Granduncle Master Araki Takashi. Eldest disciple. In their knowledge, Granduncle Master Araki Takashi was extremely protective. As Granduncle Master's eldest disciple, Granduncle Master would definitely value and love her greatly. In the cultivation world, cultivators had long lifespans, and at the end of their cultivation, they would usually not have any relatives left. Therefore, the relationship between master and disciple was often more important than bloodline clansmen. Even though Granduncle Master's essence spirit was injured, he still protected Kitsune to the aristocratic family competition. It was clear how much he valued his eldest disciple. Who was Araki Takashi? The #1 monster incarnate of history. How could his eldest disciple be ordinary? Kitsune's figure looked frail and there was no spirit energy fluctuation in her body. Against Dongfang Xian, who had a torrential aura and ferocious spirit energy, it was as though she was a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Kitsune's fist collided with Dongfang Xian's purple chi. Boom! The incomparably ferocious purple chi dissipated instantly. Dongfang Xian was stunned and shuddered as though he was struck by lightning. He flew back at an even faster speed and landed heavily on the stone platform. Dongfang Xian spat out a mouthful of blood and his face was frightfully pale. His tendons and bones felt like they were about to break as he laid on the ground screaming. He was more than half crippled and could not even stand up, let alone fight. That seemingly insignificant mantis managed to shatter the chariot. It was just a single punch. The laughter from the spectator area did not stop. The battle was already over. The expressions of the cultivators stiffened. Their jaws dropped as their eyes widened in disbelief. Dongfang Xian was defeated? Furthermore, he was defeated by a crippled Kitsune with a single punch? Even Dongfang Xian's Jean Dan phenomenon had been shattered by Kitsune's physical body? How was this possible? Not to mention the cultivators from the 3 great clans, even the members of the Kidami clan were flabbergasted. Su Zimo was naturally not surprised by this scene. Moreover, he could tell that Kitsune had not used her full strength. If Kitsune were to unleash her full strength, not to mention the Jean Dan phenomenon, even Dongfang Xian would be smashed into pieces by Kitsune's punch and die on the spot. But Dongfang just slammed the table and stood up. Her face was cold as she said, "Bitch." Shimonzei scanned Kitsune's body and murmured softly with a slight frown. Only someone who cultivated Wu Dao would not have any spirit energy fluctuations. However, how could Wu Dao be that strong? Sister, Bai Mingao was shocked. He was right behind Kitsune and had a deeper impression of the collision just now. Within Kitsune's body, it was as though he could sense a raging ocean. He had not expected that his sister, who had turned into a cripple after a few years, would be able to unleash such terrifying power. Could this be Wu Dao's strength? Suddenly, Bai Mingao realized that he could no longer see through his sister. Dong Fangji said coldly, "Are you guys blind? That bitch has already broken the rules of the competition by attacking without permission. Take her down and dismember her in front of everyone." Nangong Ling sent a voice transmission with her spirit consciousness without batting an eyelid. Nangong Shi understood and chuckled softly. She stood out and said, "I don't think you can blame Kitsune for this. The one who broke the rules of the competition is not Kitsune, but your brother, Dong Fang Xian." Firstly, Bai Mingao has already admitted defeat and Dong Fang Xian is still unwilling to stop. Secondly, Bai Mingao has already left the stone platform and Dong Fang Xian is still going to chase him to the edge of the stone platform. Anyone can attack outside the stone platform. To put it bluntly, just now, if I attack and take down Dong Fang Xian, it won't be considered breaking the rules. Nangong Shi. Dong Fangji frowned and her face was frosty. These two were the top two monstrous geniuses of the three aristocratic families. If Shimin Jingrui was included, then if nothing unexpected happened, the three of them would probably be the top three in the Golden Core Realm competition this time. The three aristocratic families had always been on good terms. Dongfang even had a marriage alliance with Shimin Jingrui. No one expected that Nangong Shi and Dongfang Ji would go against each other because of Kitsune. Could it be that Nangong Shi has a crush on Dongfang Ji and is jealous because Dongfang Ji is engaged to Shimin Jingrui? That's unlikely. I'm guessing that Nangong Shi and Kitsune are together. Although Kitsune has a low status, she's extremely beautiful. The two of them look like a golden couple. Even cultivators couldn't avoid gossiping. Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi looked at Nangong Ling, who was not far away. Nangong Ling's expression did not change and she looked straight ahead. The two of them sneered internally. Naturally, the three chiefs would not step in for such a small matter. Nangong Shi, what do you mean? Shimin Jingrui could not help but stand out with a terrible expression. Nothing. I'm just stating facts. Nangong Shi spread out her hands and looked innocent. I'll take note of this. Dongfang Ji nodded and looked at Nangong Shi deeply. Then she turned to Kitsune and moved to the stone platform. Dongfang Ji did not hide her killing intent and said slowly, "Bitch, for years ago, I broke your Jin Dan. Now, I'm giving you a chance. I'll let you have a fair fight with me in the aristocratic family tournament." Kitsune looked at Dongfang Ji coldly and fearlessly. She had been waiting for this day for a long time. Kitsune turned to look at Su Zimo. Su Zimo smiled faintly and said, "Go. Wu Dao is someone who wants to repay kindness and revenge. Today, even if you pierce through the sky, it's fine." Kitsune's heart was filled with pride and she no longer had any worries. If it was someone else who made such a promise, she would have some doubts. However, since it was her master who made such a promise, she believed that even if the sky fell, her master would hold it up for her. That was because her master was a Rocky Takashi. Dao Lord Desolate Marshal whose name shook the world and established the Dao for all living beings. In an instant, Kitsune's thoughts were clear. In fact, her cultivation that was stuck at Wu Dao's 8 transformation stage loosened at this moment. She could feel the aura of the dragon elephant. Kitsune turned around and walked up the stone platform with firm steps. At this moment, her will of Wu Dao had reached its peak and was unshakable. Under the shroud of this will, Dongfang Ji suddenly felt a sense of pressure. On the stone platform, Kitsune walked towards Dongfang Ji, step by step. With every step she took, Kitsune's aura would increase, and the pressure on Dongfang Ji would increase. Chapter 1358. What a strong blood chi. At the spectator area, Dongfang narrowed his eyes slightly. Shimin Zhe nodded as well. Kitsun's bloodline has most likely been cultivated to the level of lead and mercury blood. Among the three aristocratic families, the Shimen family was the strongest in body tempering. However, even Shimen Jingrue of Jindan realm could only cultivate to the level of lead and mercury blood despite the accumulation of resources. Dongfang Ji's heart skipped a beat. As the most outstanding successor of the Dongfang aristocratic family in the Jindan realm, she made the correct judgment right away and retreated, distancing herself from Kitsun. She could not engage in melee combat with Kitsun. The Wu Dao was a method of constantly developing one's potential and tempering one's body. Those who cultivated the Wu Dao were extremely strong in melee combat. Go! Dongfang just slapped her storage bag and waved her sleeves, causing a silver spear to appear before her. The spear vibrated and shone with 6 spirit patterns, shining brightly. It was the Khanate dermic weapon, Heavenly Essence Spear. Cultivators of the Dongfang aristocratic family rarely wielded swords and most of them wielded spears. In terms of agility, spears were much weaker than flying swords. However, they were superior in terms of strength. Under Dongfang Ji's control, the Heavenly Essence Spear transformed into a silver streak of light and arrived before Kitsun instantly at a shocking speed. Xiantian grade weapons had already reached the limit in terms of speed and power. She didn't seem to have done anything, but a long sword with a cold gleam appeared in her hand. The sword trembled and 5 spirit patterns lit up. It was a perfect spirit weapon. That sword was the perfect spirit weapon that Yu Hanyun gave to Kitsun. Kitsun has a perfect spirit weapon as well. The Baiming family sure has some good stuff. Many cultivators revealed looks of envy and jealousy. Suddenly, Kitsun struck and slashed with her sword. Clang! Sparks appeared when the sword struck the Heavenly Essence Spear. Under normal circumstances, a Khanate spirit weapon would definitely have the upper hand in a clash between a perfect spirit weapon and a Khanate spirit weapon. However, Kitsun was way too strong. That slash caused the Heavenly Essence Spear to vibrate and send it flying. Boom! Bai Mingshui took a step forward and stomped heavily on the ground. Like an arrow leaving the bow, she appeared in front of Dongfang Ji in an instant. She was too fast. With the burst of Kitsun's body and bloodline, she was able to cover a distance of more than 100 feet. Bai Mingshui's expression was cold. She raised her sword and stabbed forward. Before the sword arrived, it emitted a piercingly cold sharpness. Dongfang felt a faint pain between her eyebrows. Dongfang Ji's dermic weapons, she conjured a spirit art aristocratic family's legacy spirit realm. Strange vines and branches grew out of the stone platform beneath Bai Mingshui's feet, wrapping around her body and limbs. The Dongfang aristocratic family specialized in wood element spirit arts. As a paragon of the Jindan realm of the Dongfang aristocratic family, Dongfang Ji was even more well-versed in this aspect and managed to conjure a spirit art in the blink of an eye. Those vines and branches were no ordinary plants. Augmented by Dongfang Ji's spirit energy, they were not weaker than spirit weapons. Furthermore, there were spikes on the vines that could pierce a cultivator's flesh with ease. Dongfang Ji seized the opportunity to retreat after the spirit art was released and widen the distance between her and Kitsun once more. Humph! Kitsun scoffed coldly. She had cultivated the Wu Dao technique and was already at the 8th transformation of Wu Dao, Invincible Diamond. Her body was already invulnerable to fire, water, and swords. Even a true spirit weapon would not be able to hurt her, let alone these vines made of spirit energy. Kitsun struggled. Crack, crack. Kitsun broke free from the vines the moment they wrapped around her. In a flash, she chased after Dongfang Ji once more. Clang, clang, clang. Kitsun waved her sword and slashed repeatedly. Dongfang Ji made use of her exquisite movement techniques and spear techniques to defend against Kitsun's sword. However, she was completely disadvantaged. Kitsun did not have any sword techniques. However, with the Wu Dao true body as her foundation, the speed and strength of every single slash was unleashed to its limits. Brute force could take down everything. No matter how exquisite Dongfang Ji's moves were, there was no way she could defend against Kitsun's sword. Kitsun's strength is somewhat terrifying. To think that someone could cultivate the Wu Dao to such a level. I wonder how many transformations Kitsune has cultivated the Wu Dao. The crowd of cultivators whispered to each other. None of them had expected that the battle would develop to such an extent. She's only relying on brute force, Shimin Jingrui sneered. Everyone knows that one can't cultivate the Jin Dan phenomenon without spirit energy if they cultivate the Wu Dao. That's the greatest advantage of us cultivators. Dongfang Yi sat high above with a calm expression and was not worried at all. No one knew Dongfang Ji's strength better than him. The moment Dongfang Ji released the Jin Dan phenomenon, this battle would be over. Kitsune, you're good to be able to force me to this extent. The Jin Dan within Dongfang Ji's body circulated slowly and the spirit energy within her surged. A purple aura appeared behind her and shone brightly. Jin Dan phenomenon, East Rising Purple Qi. Although it was the same phenomenon, the power of Dongfang Ji's phenomenon was clearly several times stronger than Dongfang Xian's. This was not the end. Behind Dongfang Ji's back, a powerful energy fluctuation suddenly appeared. Yet another phenomenon appeared. Many plants appeared behind Dongfang Ji and transformed into ferocious soldiers that charged towards Kitsune. Golden Core Phenomenon, Soldiers of Grass and Wood. Dongfang Ji had cultivated 2 Jin Dan phenomenons. The crowd was in an uproar. Even Nangong Shi had a grim expression. Even he did not have much confidence of winning against Dongfang Ji, who had 2 Jin Dan phenomenons. It's over. Dongfang Ji rose slowly and 2 Jin Dan phenomenons circled around her. Her aura was at its peak as she looked down at Kitsune from above. Teach. It's useless even if you admit defeat now. Dongfang Ji's voice was cold. Initially, her 2 phenomenons were meant to deal with Nangong Shi. However, she had not expected them to be used prematurely. 2 phenomenons? Kitsune's expression was calm and there was no hint of fear or surprise in her eyes. Indeed, it's time to end this. Kitsune said indifferently, however, I'm not the one who's going to admit defeat. Before she finished her sentence, Kitsune channeled her blood chi with all her might. Her blood chi surged and the deafening sound of a tsunami echoed from Kitsune's body. Tsunami blood. A series of exclamations sounded from the crowd. Even Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi's expressions changed. They were all void reversions and knew how difficult it was to cultivate to the tsunami blood realm. It was even rarer than a Jin Dan phenomenon. In the cultivation world, there were many people who could conjure Jin Dan phenomenons. However, there were only a handful of cultivators who could cultivate tsunami blood. Boom! Against Dongfang Ji's 2 Jin Dan phenomenons, Kitsune did not retreat or dodge. Instead, she strode forward and soared into the air. Punching with her left hand and sword with her right hand, she was shrouded with Wu Dao's Gang Qi and was indestructible. Her blood qi surged like raging waves. Boom! A punch and a sword. The purple qi dissipated and the soldier was beheaded. Right in front of everyone, the 2 Jin Dan phenomenons that Dongfang Ji had just conjured were destroyed by Kitsune's punch and sword. The crowd was in an uproar. Chapter 1359. Double phenomenons were all peerless paragons. In this generation, there were less than 5 people who could cultivate double phenomenons. The most famous double phenomenon belonged to the monster incarnate of Chaos Essence sect, Dean. He cultivated the legacy phenomenon of the human emperor of all eternity, Chaos Ocean. Later on, he fused with the Buddhist phenomenon, world-cleansing Qinglian, surpassing the human emperor and condensing a shocking chaos Qinglian phenomenon. However, Di Yin's glory was completely overshadowed by someone else on the Jin Dan phenomenon ranking back then. The legendary Tao Lord Araki Takashi cultivated 3 unprecedented Jin Dan phenomenons and dominated the phenomenon ranking. He swept through everything and suppressed 2 primordial races, shaking the world. That battle also caused Desolate Martial's reputation to soar. Now that they saw Dongfang Ji cultivate a double phenomenon, the cultivators of the 3 aristocratic families were shocked. The cultivators of the Dongfang aristocrat clan were even more excited. They thought that their clan had given birth to a peerless paragon comparable to Dean and Araki Takashi. However, as soon as the excitement in their eyes was revealed, they saw the following scene, and all of their excitement turned into shock. The two Jindan phenomenons were shattered by Kitsune with a single punch and sword. How was that possible? Could it be that practicing martial arts really allowed one to erupt with such terrifying power? Even the commanders of the three aristocratic families, Shiminzei, Dongfang Yi and Nangong Ling were shocked, let alone perfected being Jin Dan and Jining Jinjuan. Nangong Ling, Yu Han Yun and Ru Xian knew that Kitsune was Su Zimo's eldest disciple and were mentally prepared. Even so, the three of them could not help but gasp when they saw that. Standing in the crowd, Baiming Ao was completely dumbfounded. Before this, he had even mocked his sister for cultivating Wu Dao and looked down on Wu Dao for not having the Jindan phenomenon. But now, the power that erupted from Kitsune's body and bloodline was something that even Jindan's avatar could not withstand. The two avatars were destroyed by Kitsune in a single strike. For the past 3 years, Baiming Ao had been cultivating diligently in the clan's main hall without slacking off at all. However, he never expected that in just 3 years, he would fall behind Kitsune by so much. The gap between the two of them was getting wider and wider. Is this Wu Dao's power? Which transformation of Wu Dao has Kitsune reached? Before this, there were people who managed to cultivate the Qi and Blood Jindan, but their strength was definitely not this terrifying. I reckon that Kitsune has already broken through the Qi and Blood Jindan and cultivated to Wu Dao's 7th transformation, Astral Trampling. That's right. Just now, when she attacks, her fists and sword are shrouded in a unique layer of power. That should be Astral Qi. Instantly, a wave of commotion broke out in the crowd. Su Zimo was naturally not surprised by that scene. His essence spirit was damaged and he looked listless the entire time. He was drowsy and his eyes seemed like they were about to close. Nobody knew better than him how terrifying the Martial Sutra was. Of the 9 transformations of the Martial Dao, the last 3 transformations were each a qualitative leap, a complete transformation. Kitsune, who cultivated to Wu Dao's 8th transformation, the invincible Vajra, might be able to fight against her if Dean, who was at Jindan realm, was revived. Dongfang Ji was far from comparable. Changes happened instantly on the battlefield. Dongfang Ji had just condensed 2 Jindan phenomenons when they were destroyed by Kitsune. She could not help but shudder and her face turned pale. Even her organs were shaken violently. A hint of panic and fear flashed through Dongfang Ji's eyes. That punch and sword had not only destroyed her Jindan phenomenons, they had also destroyed her confidence, pride, and past glory. Dongfang Ji, you've lost. Baiming Shui stepped forward with a cold look on her face. With a backhand swing, she aimed for Dongfang Ji's head. Go! Right then, a bronze mirror shrouded in blood qi floated over from the battlefield. 6 spirit patterns shone on it and it shot out a beam of blood light that landed on Kitsune's body. Kitsune's gaze swept to the spectator area. An outsider had interfered. At the spectator area, Shimin Jingrui had an unfriendly expression as he glared at Kitsune on the stone platform with narrowed eyes. Behind his back, he conjured hand seals and controlled the blood-colored bronze mirror in midair from afar. That's the Khanate spirit weapon, Blood Light Mirror. That seems to be Shimin Jingrui's weapon. Why is it on the battlefield? Many members of the Kitami clan were stunned. In reality, the cultivators of the 3 aristocratic families had naturally recognized that it was Shimin Jingrui's weapon. However, they did not point it out for the sake of their pride. What are you guys doing? The aristocratic family competition is a one-on-one fight. Are you guys trying to bully us with numbers? Baiming Ao was extremely smart and could not help but holler when he realized what was going on. The crowd sneered and ignored him. At the spectator area, Nangong Ling glanced sideways at Shiminzei and Dongfang Yi with a mocking expression. But, are you sore losers? The aristocratic family competition is a fair fight. What's the point of this? Dongfang Yi's expression did not change. This isn't some aristocratic family competition. It's a personal feud between Dongfang Ji and Kitsune. Shiminzei nodded slightly as well. That's right. Jingrui and Ji are already engaged. Naturally, he can't watch her get bullied. It's only right for him to step in. How shameless of you to be able to make it sound so dignified to bully us with numbers. Ru Xian could not help but scoff. Nangong Ling said indifferently, "Guys, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't provoke Kitsune. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences." Ha! Shimanze could not help but burst into laughter as though he had heard the greatest joke in the world. Shaking his head, he said, "I'd like to see how a slut from the Kidami clan can make me unable to bear the consequences in the territory of the Shiman family." Nangong Ling retracted her gaze and stopped trying to persuade him. He had no intention of making a move either. Given his judgment, even if Shiman Jingrui made a move, he would not be a match for Kitsune. The blood light mirror was refined from the bones of more than 100 ancient remnant beasts. It was soaked in demonic blood all year round and emitted an extremely evil aura. The descending blood light was extremely harmful to cultivators. In fact, some Jindan phenomenons could not even defend against the corrosion of the blood light. However, Kitsune merely frowned when the blood light enveloped Kitsune. Her blood chi was strong and surged like a tsunami. Even the blood of pure-blooded ferocious beasts could not hurt her, let alone the blood of an ancient remnant beast. However, the sword in her hand dimmed instantly when it was tainted by the blood light and lost its sharpness. Thankfully, the sword was a perfect-grade spirit weapon. If it was a supreme-grade spirit weapon, it would have been crippled completely within a few breaths. When she saw that, Dongfangji was invigorated and hope reignited in her eyes. Hollering, she wielded the Heaven Essence Spear and stabbed towards Kitsune. At the same time, she withdrew a black metal ruler from her storage bag and injected spirit energy into it. 6 spirit lights shone from the metal ruler. It was another Khanate spirit weapon. Space Dispersing Ruler. The members of the Kidami clan recognized the Khanate spirit weapon right away. That was because the spirit weapon was a treasure of the Kidami clan to begin with. A cold glint flashed through Kitsune's eyes. Back then, Dongfangji wielded the space-dispersing ruler and shattered her Jindan. That scene was etched into her bones. Today, there was going to be an end. Chapter 1360. The sword in Kitsune's hand was already tainted by the blood light and she decided not to use it. Facing the incoming Heavenly Essence Spear, she took a step forward and extended her palm. As a Khanate spirit weapon, the Heavenly Essence Spear was way too fast. It was merely a streak of silver light that streaked by and arrived instantly. However, Bai Mingshue's palm directly captured the silver light. The silver light dissipated and the Heavenly Essence Spear fell into Kitsune's palm. Revealing its true form, it twitched continuously, trying to break free. Kitsune harumphed coldly and her blood chi surged as she exerted strength in her palm. Instantly, the spirit light on the spear was overshadowed by Kitsune's blood chi and dimmed. Dongfangji had already lost control of the Heavenly Essence Spear completely. The moment the Heavenly Essence Spear arrived, a black shadow shrouded over, as though it was about to split the void into two. It was the Khanate spirit weapon, Space Dispersing Ruler. Kitsune's expression was unchanged as she raised her right hand and spread her fingers, grabbing the descending Space Dispersing Ruler. The expressions of the crowd changed starkly as they exclaimed. Grabbing the incoming Heavenly Essence Spear with one's bare hands and grabbing the descending Space Dispersing Ruler were two completely different situations. As long as one could avoid the sharpness of the spear tip, the Heavenly Essence Spear would not pose much of a threat. However, the power of the Space Dispersing Ruler was extremely terrifying and even cultivators of the Shiman family who specialized in body tempering would have their tendons and bones snapped if they were here. The Space Dispersing Ruler landed in Kitsune's palm. Kitsune did not move at all. In fact, there was no emotion in her eyes at all. Someone had received the Khanate spirit weapon, Space Dispersing Ruler, bare-handed. The crowd grimaced and felt their teeth ache. Was that even a body of flesh and blood? The eyes of the crowd were filled with disbelief. Finally, Dongfangji panicked. Both of her Khanate spirit weapons were snatched away by Kitsune bare-handed. Even if she used her other trump cards, there was no way she would be a match for Kitsune. Dongfang Ji's figure moved, she wanted to withdraw and leave. Unfortunately, Kitsune was faster than her. After receiving the 2 Khanate spirit weapons, Kitsune did not stop in her tracks. In a flash, she appeared before Dongfang Ji in the blink of an eye. Kitsune gripped the Sky Origin spear and thrust it towards Dongfang Ji's head. "How dare you!" Dongfang Ji screamed and tore the talisman in her hand. A jade-green light spread out and enveloped Dongfang Ji. The heavenly essence spear stabbed into the giant green light barrier. It was as if it had pierced through an airbag, causing the light barrier to instantly collapse. Dongfang Ji's pupils constricted and her face turned pale. One had to know that her protective talisman could withstand a blow from a nascent soul cultivator. She had never thought that this talisman would actually be shattered by Kitsune in an instant. Before she could think further, she felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. A tyrannical force collided with her Jin Dan. Kakaka. Dongfang Ji's eyes widened. She could clearly sense cracks appearing on the Jin Dan in her body. Instantly, the cracks filled the entire Jin Dan. It was shattered. Her Jin Dan was shattered by Kitsune's space-dispersing ruler. Dongfang Ji retreated continuously and staggered. Her legs went wobbly and she fell to the ground unsteadily. With her Jin Dan shattered, her cultivation of more than 50 years was destroyed instantly. Initially, for a perfected being Jin Dan who had a lifespan of 500 years, she was in her 50s. But now that her Jin Dan was shattered and her spirit energy was drained, her lifespan had dropped to the 100 years of a mortal instantly. If she was in her 50s, it meant that she was over 50 years old. In a few breaths, the black hair by her temples had already turned white and there were a few more wrinkles on her face, revealing her old age. At the spectator area, with a loud smack, the teacup in Dongfang Yi's hands was crushed. "Bitch, how dare you!" Dongfang Yi's face was gloomy. He had never expected that in this aristocratic family tournament, those ants from the Kidami clan would dare to attack a genius of the aristocratic family. Dongfang Yi's face was filled with murderous intent. Today, not only will Kitsune die, but the members of the Kidami clan will also be buried with her. As if sensing the danger, the leader of the Kidami clan looked terrified and uneasy. The rest of the clan members were also trembling with fear. Although Kitsune had won, there was no excitement on their faces. Instead, it was as if they had lost their parents. Among the crowd, the only one who was calm and collected was Su Zimo. On the stone platform, Dongfang Ji was defeated and Jin Dan was crippled. Immediately after, another figure rushed up. "Bitch, how dare you hurt it? You must have a death wish." Shimin Jingrui rushed up and cursed. Waving his palm, the blood light mirror in midair buzzed and spun, smashing towards Kitsune fiercely. Kitsune's expression did not change as she swung the sky-dispersing ruler in reverse and slashed forward. Clang! The 2 Khanate spirit weapons collided with an ear-piercing sound of metal clashing. The blood light mirror was sent flying. At the same time, Shimin Jingrui had already closed in. Raising his fist, he punched towards Kitsune. When this punch came out, it immediately burst out with an extremely strong murderous aura. The Shimin family specialized in metal elemental dermic arts and melee killing techniques. With a mocking expression, Kitsune put away the sky-dispersing ruler and punched Shimin Jingrue's fist in reverse as well. Bang! The 2 fists collided and it was as though they were defeated. Kitsune did not move at all with an indifferent expression. As for Shimin Jingrui, his expression changed continuously. Right after, the sound of bones cracking could be heard from his arm in a horrifying manner. His entire arm was crippled by a single punch from Kitsune. Shimin Jingrui was a ruthless person as well. Gritting his teeth, he did not dare to make a single sound. Instead, he fled towards the exit of the stone platform. "Jingrui, take me with you!" Dongfang Ji shouted. Her Jin Dan was crippled and she could not even jump down from the stone platform. When Shimin Jingrui heard Dongfang Ji's shout, he looked over instinctively and was shocked. Right now, Dongfang Ji was already old and no longer had her former glory. A look of disgust flashed through the depths of Shimin Jingrui's eyes as he turned around and fled on his own. Why you? Dong Fangji was so angry that she was trembling with a hopeless expression. Vows of undying love and accompanying each other in life and death were all lies. What are you guys looking at? Take down that bitch. Shimin Zhe stood up with an ugly expression on his face as he shouted loudly. Twat, twat, twat. Immediately, 5 figures stood out from Shimin Zhe's subordinates, exuding a powerful aura and surrounded by dermic powers. With murderous intent, they charged towards Kitsune. Jining Zhenjuan. Kitsune had crippled the most outstanding Jin Dan cultivators of the Dongfang and Shimin families. This had thoroughly angered Shimin Zhe and Dongfang. The few of you, go and detain the members of the Kitami clan. I want to cripple their cultivations one by one and torture them slowly. Dongfang also waved his hand and gave the order. Soon, a few Jining Zhenjuan from the Dongfang family stood out and charged towards the Kitami clan. Due to Kitsune's sudden appearance, the aristocratic family tournament had completely gone out of control. Chapter 1361. Shimin Zhe, Dongfang Yi, what are you guys doing? When Nangong Ling saw that the situation was amiss, she slammed the table and stood up, hollering. Yu Han Yun and Ru Xian stood up as well, frowning. Just now, they could still sit still when Dongfang Ji and Shimin Jingrui joined forces to deal with Kitsune. After all, Kitsune was Su Zimo's eldest disciple. Even against 2 perfected Jin Dan, she was not in any danger. But now that the 5th Jining Zhenjuan of the Shimin family was making a move, the nature of the situation changed completely. This was blatantly bullying Baiming Shui, bullying the Baiming family because there was no one left. Nangong Ling, let me ask you what you're trying to do. Dongfang Yi's expression was cold as he pointed at Kitsune and said coldly, that cell *T is ruthless. How dare she cripple a paragon of my Dongfang family? If I let her leave, where will my Dongfang family's face go? The Dongfang family is so domineering. Yu Han Yun sneered. You're the only one who's allowed to destroy someone else's Jin Dan but not allowed someone else to cripple someone from your family. My Dongfang family is an ancient aristocratic family that has been around for a long time. Our status is on par with the super sects of the Immortal, Buddhist and Fiend sections. That's how domineering we are. What can you do about it? Dongfang Yi's aura was domineering as he shouted, Kitami clan, a declining aristocratic family, is nothing more than an ant in my eyes. Today, not only is that *T Kitsune going to die, the clansmen of the Kitami clan are going to die with her as well. Dongfang Yi, Shimin Zhe, I advise you to stop. Nangong Ling said slowly with a grim expression. After all, he knew the 2 of them when he was young. Furthermore, the 3 aristocratic families were connected and he was truly reminding them out of goodwill. That was because no one knew better than him. There was a terrifying person lurking in the crowd below. That was an existence comparable to an ancient taboo. Right now, this taboo was still sleeping with its eyes closed. Once this taboo was awakened, the moment it opened its eyes, it would definitely shake the heavens and earth. No one would be able to withstand it. The entire Shimin villa was going to be turned upside down. However, Nangong Ling's persuasion only made Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi sneer. Nangong Ling, before this, your Nangong family was protecting the Kitami clan, so I didn't care. Shimin Zhe said coldly, now, you want to break off relations with our 2 great families because of a slut from the Kitami clan. Nangong Ling, let me tell you, this is Shimin Zhe's territory. Shimin Zhe's gaze was dignified, and his entire body exuded a huge pressure. He slowly said, I don't care what you, Nangong Ling, have learned after going out to gain experience. But today, even if you're a true dragon, you have to coil up for me. The crowd was also in a state of chaos. Who would have thought that a single Baiming Shui would cause the commanders of the 3 noble families to confront each other and draw their swords? Shimin Zhe's words were extremely decisive and there was no room for negotiation. If Nangong Ling insisted, she could only clash head-on with the Shimin and Dongfang families and break out into a war. Furthermore, Shiminze's words were definitely not a threat. After all, this was the Shimin family's territory. There were definitely some Dharma characteristic experts hidden in this villa. If the Nangong family and the Shimin family fought, these experts would definitely appear. The Nangong family was definitely no match for them. Nangong Ling's forehead was covered in sweat, and she had a troubled expression. Right then, Yu Hanyun secretly tugged at the corner of Nangong Ling's clothes and looked towards the crowd. Nangong Ling looked over instinctively. The crowd below was already in chaos. However, in the surging crowd, there was still a green-robed man who was calm and composed. His eyes were closed, as though he did not care about everything around him. Even when the Jining Zhenjuan of the Shimin family and Dongfang families appeared, that person did not open his eyes. Ru Xian sent a voice transmission. Strange, didn't Granduncle Master say that no one is allowed to bully Kitsune? Why does he not seem anxious at all? Let's wait and see first. It won't be too late for us to take action if Granduncle Master has any instructions. Yu Hanyun sent a voice transmission with her spirit consciousness. Nangong Ling nodded and sat back down slowly. On the other side, on the stone platform, against the 5 Jining Zhenjuan of the Shimin family surrounding her, Kitsune's eyes flashed with panic. Even if she was facing 50 perfected Jin Dan, she would not be afraid. However, there were 5 Jining Zhenjuan of the Shimin family surrounding her. Before she cultivated the Wu Dao, she was only a perfected Jin Dan. Even if she cultivated the Wu Dao and reached the 8th transformation of the Wu Dao, her cultivation was only equivalent to the Jin Dan realm. The nascent soul realm was a major cultivation realm away from the Jin Dan realm. In Kitsune's understanding, that major cultivation realm was an insurmountable chasm. She had never fought against a Jining Zhenjuan before, let alone against 5 Jining Zhenjuan of the Shimin family. As such, she could not help but feel a little flustered and timid. Kitsune looked at Su Zimo instinctively. Su Zimo stood in the crowd with his eyes closed, as though he did not notice what was happening. Kitsune realized that she could only rely on herself to resolve the situation before her. Naturally, Su Zimo would not make a move. As a cultivator, he would definitely face a situation like this when he ventured into the cultivation world in the future. Perhaps it would be even more dangerous than this. Su Zimo could not be by Kitsune's side all the time. The situation before them was a test for Kitsune. Only by passing this test could Kitsune grow rapidly. Moreover, in Su Zimo's heart, the difference of a major cultivation realm was not considered bullying. As his eldest disciple, if she could not even handle the situation, then all his years of teaching would have been in vain. On the stone platform, boom, boom, the 5 Jining Zhenjuan of the Shimin family landed one after another, causing the entire stone platform to shake violently. Among the 3 aristocratic families, the Shimin family specialized in body tempering and close combat. Clang, clang, clang. The 5 successors of the Shimin family took out their destiny dermic weapons one after another, either sabers or swords. In a flash, they surrounded Kitsune. At the nascent soul realm, one had already cultivated an essence spirit and could use dermic powers. If it were any other cultivator, they would not be able to withstand the pressure and would be captured without a fight. However, Kitsune channeled her chi blood with all her might under the immense pressure. A roar came from within her body as her aura surged to its limit. Ah! Kitsune roared into the sky. Faced with the encirclement of the 5 Jining Zhenjuan, she did not retreat. Instead, she advanced and made the first move. Boom! Kitsune strode forward and rushed to the front of one of the Jining Zhenjuan. Holding the heavenly essence spear, which was shrouded in energy, she stabbed it viciously at his head. You must have a death wish. With a cold expression, that person slashed his saber at the heavenly essence spear. Clang! The saber and spear collided and sparks flew everywhere. A look of astonishment flashed across that person's eyes. As a cultivator of the Shimin family, his physical body and bloodline were already strong. Furthermore, after cultivating to the nascent soul realm and refining his physical body and bloodline with dermic powers, it was even more terrifying. Not only that, he also had the help of his destiny dermic weapon. In his opinion, he would be able to defeat Kitsune with a single slash of his saber. Following that, he would be able to kill Kitsune with a second slash. However, he did not expect that the moment the two of them collided, he would feel an extremely terrifying force enter his body through his saber. The force was so ferocious that his physical body and bloodline could not withstand it. Chapter 1362. The Jining Jinjuan of the Shimin family felt as though he was not facing a human, but a pure-blooded ferocious beast in human form. Thump. Against that terrifying power, the Jining Jinjuan knelt on the ground. The crowd was shocked. The Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi widened their eyes in disbelief as well. Kitsune's strength had reached such a level that she could even suppress the Jining Jinjuan? Bang! Kitsune extended her leg and stabbed that person in the chest. The Jining Jinjuan shuddered and his heart exploded. He spat out a mouthful of blood and his blood chi drained rapidly as he looked dispirited. At the same time, the four Jining Jinjuan of the Shimin family behind her rushed forward. Kitsune swung the sky-dispersing ruler and slashed behind her. Clang! The sky-dispersing ruler collided with the four dermic weapons. Snap! The sky-dispersing ruler shattered. Among them, one of the Jining Jinjuan's dermic weapons was a Khanate perfected Lord dermic weapon that broke the sky-dispersing ruler. However, the four Jining Jinjuan shuddered and could not help but take a step back. With her spirit weapon, Kitsune still had the upper hand in terms of strength against the four of them. Although the sky-dispersing ruler shattered, Kitsune was invigorated and shook off her initial panic and fear. With a burning gaze, she strode forward and attacked once more. Kitsune raised her heavenly essence spear and stabbed it towards the face of one of the Jining Jinjuan. Break! The Jining Jinjuan hollered and slashed with his sword. Just now, it was the Khanate perfected Lord dermic weapon in his hands that broke the sky-dispersing ruler. Kitsune targeted that person immediately. Clang! Just as that person expected, the heavenly essence spear broke. However, that person shuddered as well. The heavenly essence spear was imbued with a powerful force that flowed into his body along with the magic tool, making him feel uncomfortable. Fortunately, he had been training his physique all year round. If it had been Jining Jinjuan from the Dongfang family or the Nangong family, he would have been injured. Just as the Jining Jinjuan trembled, Kitsune's eyes shone brightly. She rushed forward and instantly cut into the man's chest, avoiding the other three Jining Jinjuan's weapons. She reached out and pressed her hand on the man's chest. That person's chest caved in and his eyes were wide open. His entire body was powerless as he fell limply to the ground. In the blink of an eye, two Jining Jinjuan from the Shimin family had been crippled. After practicing Wu Dao, Kitsune's strength, speed, reflexes, and spiritual senses had all reached a terrifying level. An evil gust of wind blew from behind. As though she had eyes at the back of her head, Kitsune did not even turn back. A series of crackling sounds came from within her body and her body suddenly shrank as though she had turned into a dwarf, dodging the sharpness of the three dermic weapons by a hair's breadth. At the tsunami blood level, techniques like tendons transformation and bone shrinkage were even easier for her. The remaining three Jining Jinjuan were stunned. Kitsune stretched her body once more and arrived before one of the Jining Jinjuan. She reached out and grabbed the Jining Jinjuan's throat. Exclamation point! Instantly, the Jining Jinjuan's throat was ripped apart and he fell to the ground, convulsing. In the spectator stands, Shimin Zhe's expression was already extremely gloomy. In his heart, Kitsune was already a dead person. However, he was a void reversion after all. Due to his status, he endured it and did not make a move. On the other side, the Jining Jinjuan of the Dongfang aristocrat family who were initially charging towards the Kitami clan noticed what was happening and turned around one after another. Shoo! 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 Before the 7 Jining Jinjuan of the Dongfang aristocrat family arrived, they struck one after another and summoned their destiny dermic weapons. Be it swords or spears, they charged towards Kitsune through the void. Kitsune sensed danger and the pressure on her increased. On the stone platform, there were only 2 Jining Jinjuan of the Shimin family left. If the two perfected lords of the Shimin family were to close in and hold her back, her movement technique would be restricted and the perfected lords of the Dongfang aristocrat family would attack from afar. She would be in an extremely dangerous situation. At that thought, Kitsune strode forward and charged towards the two Jining Jinjuan of the Shimin family, ignoring the flying swords and spears behind her. The two Jining Jinjuan were experienced as well and no longer took the initiative to attack. Instead, they changed their strategy and focused on holding back Kitsune. A resolute look flashed through Kitsune's eyes. Suddenly, she reached out and grabbed the dermic weapon of one of the Jining Jinjuan. "You must have a death wish." When the Jining Jinjuan of the Shimin family caught sight of that, he was delighted and hurriedly swung the sword in his hands, wanting to slice off Kitsune's palm. Kitsune gripped his sword with her palm and fresh blood flowed from her palm. However, the sword did not budge at all. The Jining Jinjuan looked flustered. Kitsune took advantage of the situation and rushed forward. She slapped the top of his head and killed him. The other Jining Jinjuan of the Shimin family did not manage to escape either. Kitsune rushed forward and killed him despite the injury to her palm. At that moment, the continuous pursuit had exhausted a great deal of Kitsune's mental strength and energy. She avoided the 5 dermic weapons that came after her, but there were still 2 dermic weapons that she could not dodge in time. Her abdomen was pierced by a spear. On her thigh, there was a wound so deep that her bones could be seen. Blood was dripping from it. In addition, just now, she had forcefully killed the 2 Jining Jinjuan of the Shimin family. Her palms were covered in blood, and she looked extremely miserable. Accept your death. One of the Jining Jinjuan of the Dongfang family looked down at Kitsune from above. In their eyes, such a serious injury was equivalent to losing the ability to fight. Kitsune was still standing at the same spot. She was already an arrow at the end of its flight. But soon, the expressions of the 7 Jining Jinjuan of the Dongfang family gradually changed. They could not help but widen their eyes and constrict their pupils. Gasps could also be heard from the crowd. In the spectator area, Shimin Zhe and Dongfang Yi looked grave. They stared at the wound on Kitsune's body without blinking and muttered, "How is this possible?" Under countless gazes, the wound on Kitsune's body was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even around the huge bloody hole in her abdomen, granulation was rapidly growing and intertwining, healing the wound. In just a short while, the wound on Kitsune's palm had already healed. The wound on her thigh had already formed a scar. In the blink of an eye, the scar started to fall off. What a terrifying self-healing ability. I know now. It's Invincible Vajra. Kitsune has cultivated to Wu Dao's 8th transformation, Invincible Vajra. Exclamations could be heard from the crowd. Wu Dao's 8th transformation, Invincible Vajra, did not mean that one would be invulnerable to weapons and invulnerable to fire and water at this level. After all, no matter how strong one's physical body was, there were even more terrifying forces or divine weapons that could injure it. The so-called Invincible Vajra meant that one could use their powerful self-healing ability to repair and heal wounds after being injured to ensure combat strength as much as possible. Even pure-blooded ferocious beasts could not compare to such a terrifying self-healing ability. What are you waiting for? Dongfang Yi could not help but shout, "Are you waiting for this B*Tej to recover before attacking?" Chapter 1363. One after another, dermic weapons tore through the void and sped towards Kitsune, arriving instantly. Kitsune twisted and turned on the stone platform. Her movements were nimble and swift, like a Jiao dragon. Without her feet touching the ground, she rushed toward one of the Jining Jinjuan. Kitsune's physical body and bloodline power were witnessed by all the cultivators present. Even Jining Jinjuan of the Shimin family had been suppressed, let alone the perfected cultivators of the Dongfang family. Jining Jinjuan reacted quickly and retreated. At the same time, he cast a spell with his hands and cast a spell towards Kitsune. Boom! Kitsune raised her head and punched out, colliding heavily with the spell. Kitsune, who was equivalent to the Jin Dan realm, was able to break Jining Jinjuan's spell just by relying on her physical body and qi and blood. Of course, after colliding with this spell, she lost the chance to catch up to this person. Boom, boom, boom. The rest of Jining Jinjuan's spells also fell from the sky. Numerous Dharma artifacts, together with spells, kept suppressing Kitsune's space, making it impossible for her to get close to any of the cultivators. Of course, Kitsune had cultivated to the invincible Vajra level, and her self-healing ability was astonishing. These 7 Jining Jinjuan of the Dongfang family wanted to surround and kill Kitsune, but it would be very difficult for them to do so within a short period of time. 7 Jining Jinjuan had made a move to strangle a perfected Jin Dan, but they were now in a stalemate. Dongfang Yi's face was ashen. He even had the urge to kill this Kitsune himself. However, in front of everyone, Dongfang Yi thought for a while and said in a low voice, "Wu Hua, the 5 of you go and suppress this bitch as fast as you can." Perfected Lord Wu Hua nodded slightly and arrived in midair in a flash. The 4 Jining Jinjuan followed closely behind. Another 5 Jining Jinjuan from the Dongfang family have made their move. Kitsune is done for. I'm afraid that the Kitami clan will be annihilated. It's a pity that I've never heard of any cultivator who could cultivate Wu Dao to the 8th transformation. Speaking of which, Dao Lord Araki Takashi is indeed the #1 monster incarnate of all times. The martial sutra that he created can actually cultivate such terrifying power. The crowd was in chaos as the cultivators discussed animatedly. Nangong Ling, Yu Hanyun, and Ru Xian all looked nervous. The 3 of them subconsciously looked at Su Zimo in the crowd. At that moment, Su Zimo was still calm and composed with his eyes closed, as though he did not see Kitsune in danger at all. Granduncle Master is way too calm. He's allowing his disciple to be surrounded just like that? Ru Xian was secretly speechless. Nangong Ling was confused as well and sent a voice transmission. Perhaps Granduncle Master has other intentions. Right then, the situation on the battlefield changed with the addition of 5 Jining Jinjuan. Initially, Kitsune could still hold on against the 7 Jining Jinjuan. But now, she was clearly struggling against the encirclement of 12 Jining Jinjuan. Continuous battles. Furthermore, it was a battle against Jining Jinjuan, and Kitsune was extremely draining. If not for the fact that she cultivated the Wu Dao and had immense blood qi and stamina, she would not have been able to hold on long ago. As time passed by, Kitsune's movement technique gradually slowed down and her footsteps were no longer as agile as before. A slight delay in dodging caused a wound to appear on Kitsune's arm that was dripping with blood. Before that wound could heal, another flying sword sliced across the Kitami clan's thigh, causing blood to splatter. Bai Mingshui's figure staggered. However, she grit her teeth and remained silent with an expressionless face. SL*T, let's see how long more you can last. Perfected Lord Wu Hua smirked with a mocking look in his eyes. More and more wounds appeared on Kitsune's body. No matter how strong her regeneration capabilities were, she could not recover. Not long after, Bai Mingshui had already become a bloody person, covered in cuts and bruises, looking extremely miserable. However, there was no hint of submission in Kitsune's eyes. On the contrary, it was as though a terrifying power was gradually awakening within her body. Actually, ever since she started cultivating the Wu Dao, Kitsune had never fought against a true expert, nor had she faced any life and death calamities. Even with Su Zimo's teachings, her accomplishments were limited. Back then, Daiyu also left Su Zimo in Songlang Mountain Range for a year without caring about him. It was only then that Su Zimo truly grew. But now that she had defeated Dongfang Ji, the knot in her heart was gone and her thoughts were clear. She felt an unprecedented joy and had a new understanding of the Wu Dao. Coupled with the immense pressure and constant stimulation of life and death, the bottleneck of Wu Dao's 9th transformation was finally loosened. Suddenly, Kitsune reared her head and howled. Although she was drenched in blood, it was as though a shackle had been broken in her body. An unprecedented power burst forth from within her body and was about to burst out. That howl was extremely terrifying. It was like the roar of a dragon or an elephant. Even perfected Lord Wu Hua and the others felt a piercing pain in their ears. Their bodies swayed and they almost fell from midair. Could that be Wu Dao's 9th transformation, the power of Dragon Elephant? A series of exclamations sounded from the crowd. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, Kitsune swung her fists and punched in all directions, venting the surging power in her body. The perfected Lord Dermic weapons that were thrusting over were sent flying by Kitsune's fists and fell into the crowd, causing a commotion. Pissed. The expressions of perfected Lord Wu Hua and the others changed. Even perfected Lord Dermic weapons could not hurt Kitsune? Everyone, let's join forces and suppress that woman completely. Perfected Lord Wu Hua hollered and channeled his essence spirit wildly, conjuring a powerful Dermic art. The other Jining Jinjuan conjured hand seals and conjured Dermic arts as well. Instantly, the Dermic powers around the stone platform surged. 12 Dharma spells tore through the air, bursting forth with terrifying pressure. They pressed down on Bai Mingshui with lightning speed. Kitsune's gaze was cold as her bloodline surged and circulated wildly. A power that originated from the ancient era was awakened. But the sound of a tsunami could be heard in the void. This was not tsunami blood. Right in front of the crowd, a dark and deep ocean appeared behind Kitsune with an extremely cold aura. Northern Dark Ocean? Bai Ming-ao murmured softly with a confused expression. His Jin Dan phenomenon was the Northern Dark Ocean and he was naturally the most familiar with that ocean. However, the power released by the ocean behind Kitsune was clearly countless times stronger than his Northern Dark Ocean. In front of this ocean, his Golden Core phenomenon was like a tiny puddle. How could this be? Bai Ming-ao blinked in confusion. Shouldn't there be a Jin Dan phenomenon when cultivating Wu Dao? Tis. The voice of the Kitami clan member trembled slightly. That's not a Jin Dan phenomenon, but a bloodline phenomenon. Right then, Su Zimo opened his eyes as well. His gaze landed on the ocean behind Kitsune, as though it could penetrate the depths of the ocean and reach the depths of the Northern Dark Ocean. There seemed to be an even more terrifying existence there. Chapter 1364. A Bloodline Phenomenon. Shimanzai and Dongfang Yi both jumped to their feet. Their expressions changed greatly as they cried out in alarm. Both of them were void reversions and knew how difficult it was to cultivate their bloodlines to the tsunami blood realm. There was even a legendary bloodline phenomenon above the tsunami blood realm. Legend has it that Protoss bloodlines were the only natural phenomenons. It was harder than ascending to the heavens for human cultivators to cultivate a phenomenon with their bloodlines. If Kitsune had only cultivated to the 8th or even 9th transformation of the Wu Dao, the two of them would have been able to maintain their composure. However, they could no longer sit still when they caught sight of the bloodline phenomenon. The same thought flashed through their minds. They had to strangle Kitsune. She had only cultivated to the Jin Dan realm and was already able to condense a bloodline phenomenon. How terrifying would Kitsune be if she was allowed to mature? The two of them did not dare to imagine. Rumble. On the battlefield, the Northern Ocean surged and covered the skies, engulfing perfected Lord Wu Hua and the others instantly. The seawater was bone-chillingly cold. Among the 12 Jining Jinjuan, some of them had lower cultivation realms and weaker blood qi. In fact, rows of ice shards formed in their bloodlines and their limbs froze. 2 Jining Jinjuan's faces were frightfully pale and a layer of frost appeared in their eyes. Their gazes dimmed and their bodies gradually sank into the sea, vanishing. They were dead. The moment the bloodline phenomenon descended, it devoured the 2 Jining Jinjuan before long. The remaining 10 Jining Jinjuan struggled in the Northern Ocean as well, trying to break free. However, the seawater was turbulent and exuded an extremely cold aura. It was not that easy to break free. Only perfected Lord Wu Hua and the other 2 tore their protection talismans and rode their dermic weapons into the distance without turning back, wanting to break free from the range of the phenomenon. All of a sudden, in the middle of this deep ocean, a huge semicircular wave suddenly rose up high. It was as if there was a huge monster emerging from the ocean's surface. On the surface of the sea, terrifying waves instantly rose up and whizzed past. The few Jining Jinjuan who were still struggling in the sea were instantly submerged by the waves. They could no longer float up and died. Only true Lord Wu Hua and the other two who had already fled far away were spared. Even so, the three of them were completely scared out of their wits. Their faces were drained of blood, and it was unknown whether it was because of the cold sea water or because they were frightened. The three of them were trembling all over, and their expressions were filled with terror. Suddenly, on the surface of the sea, two cold lights appeared. It was a pair of huge eyes. This eye was as big as the scorching sun in the sky. Compared to this pair of eyes, all the cultivators were like tiny specks of dust. The group of cultivators looked up with agape mouths and shocked expressions. Under countless gazes, a massive creature gradually surfaced from the surface of the sea and revealed its true appearance. Its body was so massive that it seemed to be thousands of kilometers long. It covered the skies and enveloped the entire Shimin villa. Thump, thump. Some cultivators could not withstand the pressure and knelt on the ground one after another. In the face of this massive creature, all the cultivators, including Jining Jinjuan and void reversions present, felt their hearts skip a beat. It was a suppression of their bloodline. It was a fear that originated from the ancient era. Heavens, what is that? Some cultivators' voices trembled. They were completely scared out of their wits. The Dharma Daojun who were initially sitting quietly in Shimin Villa were alarmed by the commotion and appeared one after another, looking up. Pissed. The Dharma Daojun shuddered and gasped. What demon beast is that? Could it be a whale beast from the ocean? Impossible. Even the colossal whale race isn't that terrifying. That aura seems to be. Some of the Dharma Daojuan's hearts skipped a beat when they thought of a possibility. In a cave abode in a corner of the villa, an old man in seclusion opened his eyes slowly. The old man's face was filled with wrinkles and his gaze was ancient. No one knew how long he had lived. His gaze seemed to be able to penetrate the layers of obstructions and land on the massive creature above the firmaments. Even with his knowledge, he could not help but frown when he saw the massive creature and murmured softly, "One of the primordial 9 races, Kun?" On the battlefield, the massive creature widened its gigantic eyes and looked at perfected Lord Wu Hua and the other two with a gaze colder than the seawater. The three of them were still in the North Sea. In its mind, this was already trespassing on its territory. As though he had gone mad, perfected Lord Wu Hua mustered his last bit of strength and fled into the distance. All of a sudden, suddenly, the demon beast opened its mouth and released an irresistible suction force, as though it wanted to devour the entire world. Bush, bush, bush. Seawater surged into its mouth. Perfected Lord Wu Hua and the other two could not control themselves and were sucked in by the demon beast. In the blink of an eye, the three of them were devoured by the demon beast and vanished completely. The three Jining Jinjuan were devoured alive by the demon beast. Including the 5 Jining Jinjuan of the Shimin family, there were 17 Jining Jinjuan. None of them were spared. Even though Nangong Ling and the other two were mentally prepared, they were still shocked speechless at this moment. The bloodline phenomenon that Kitsune cultivated was not the North Sea. It was the massive demon beast hidden in the depths of the ocean. At that moment, Kitsune was in a strange state as well. Ever since she released her bloodline phenomenon, Kitsune had been frowning and turning to look in the direction of North Sea Town with a lost expression. Right at this moment, a strand of extremely gloomy killing intent appeared. A sense of danger flashed through Kitsune's mind. A strong sense of danger descended, almost suffocating her. The void was filled with a terrifying spirit consciousness fluctuation. At the spectator area, the glabellas of Dongfang Yi and Shimin Zhe shone at the same time. Their spirit consciousnesses condensed and released an essence spirit secret skill that descended on Kitsune. As void reversions and commanders of 2 aristocratic families, the 2 of them did not intend to attack personally due to their statuses. However, after Kitsune's bloodline phenomenon descended, the 2 of them could no longer hold it in. They had to attack and kill Kitsune. The two of them had a tacit understanding and did not even use any dermic arts or weapons. Instead, they used the most lethal killing method of void reversions, essence spirit secret skills. Essence spirit secret skills were killing techniques that targeted the essence spirit directly. Even Jining Jinjuan could not defend against it, let alone perfected being Jin Dan. His spirit consciousness was like a saber that could pierce Kitsun's mind instantly. Nangong Ling sensed the spirit consciousness fluctuation and quickly realized something. However, it was already too late for him to stop it. Don't. Nangong Ling only had time to exclaim. It's too late. A vicious glint flashed through Dongfang Yi's eyes. Shiminze also said coldly, to be able to die in the hands of the two of us, you bitch, can be considered to have died a worthy death. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.